Chapter 1435. It had to be said that the celestial court formed by the sixth sex was comparable to the three major sects of the North region. Other than the fact that they did not have any immortal realm cultivators, they were not inferior to the three major sects of the North region. It could be said that after the sixth sex merged, the celestial court could dominate the entire North region as long as the three major sects of the North region did not interfere. No sect could stop them. Arrival of the Sky Leader sect. Arrival of the God-Down sect. Arrival of the Earth Leader sect. Arrival of the Mountain River Everlasting sect. Following the voice of the disciple who came to welcome them, dozens of figures entered the ceremony. Each of them held a so-called gift in their hands. These people were dressed in different clothes. They were obviously the representatives of the major sects of the North region. However, upon closer inspection, these people's cultivation was extremely weak. They were just ordinary disciples of their respective sections. Obviously, these sects were just going through the motions. They did not want to offend the celestial court, so they sent their disciples here to answer to the celestial court. After all, the three major sects of the North region had existed since ancient times. They were the three giants that ruled the entire North region. In the eyes of the major sects of the North region, the sixth sects merged to form a major sect was no different from courting death. It had been almost 300 million years since the beginning of the 10th Aeon. It was not that no one wanted to form a major sect during this time. However, before these forces could rise, they were all destroyed by the three major sects of the North region. To put it bluntly, there could only be three major sects of the North region in the North Star region. Although they did not agree with each other, they had a common understanding on this matter. They would never allow a fourth major sect to appear. Congratulations to sect leader Yi for establishing the Celestial Court. May the Celestial Court prosper and prosper. All kinds of congratulations came from the sect's representatives. However, these people spoke too casually. They casually placed the gifts on the ceremonial table and then fell silent. It was obvious that they were absent-minded. Obviously, the sect's representatives knew that this was just a formality. They did not really think that the Celestial Court's establishment of a sect was a joke. Gu Beichen's expression was cold. It was obvious that he was about to lose his temper. However, before he could do anything, Yi Xian patted his shoulder calmly and motioned for Gu Beichen to calm down. The ceremony officially begins. Thump, thump, thump. As Fatso Huang's voice resounded throughout the heavenly Yin Divine Mountain, 81 bells rang out consecutively, and the excited cheers of the disciples of the sixth sex could be heard. The ceremony was very simple. The main thing was for the sect master to announce the establishment of the sect. Then he would bow to the chaos heaven and earth 3 times. After that, he would hold a banquet for the guests. The ceremony was considered complete. Yi Xian handed a piece of ceremonial paper to Yi Xian. He calmly picked it up and prepared to read out the founding of the Celestial Court. However, at that moment, 3 rays of light suddenly shot over from the horizon, accompanied by wild laughter. How dare you, little sixth sects? How dare you dream of establishing a great sect? Aren't you afraid that the sixth sex will cease to exist in the northern region in an instant? 3 streaks of rainbow light landed in the center of the venue. The 3 of them were dressed in black, white, and blue robes. Their cultivation levels were all in the Tao querying realm. At that moment, they were looking at the people from the various sects with arrogance. When the 3 of them appeared, the expressions of the various sects' representatives changed. They hurriedly bowed and greeted the 3 of them. Greetings, emissaries of the 3 sections. The representatives of the various sects bowed humbly. This made the emissaries of the 3 sects look arrogant. Only then did they look at Yi Xian. I heard that your name is Yi Tian. Not only did you kill the master of the heavenly Yin Divine sect, you even defeated Li Tsangtian. That's how you managed to unify the 6 sections. You are indeed capable. The emissary of the North Dark sect sneered. Yi Tian, we don't want to talk nonsense with you. The 3 of us are here on the orders of the 3 great sect masters. We order you to disband the 6 sects immediately, the emissary of the North Dark sect said coldly. You're just in the Tao querying realm. You're in the same realm as me. Who gave you the courage to establish a sect? Are you not afraid of death? The emissary of the goddess sect was a cold woman. She wore a white palace dress and gave off a holy and cold feeling. At that moment, she was scolding Yi Xian loudly. How dare you! Gu Beichen let out an explosive shout. His expression was ice-cold and stern. These three people simply ate the guts of dragons and phoenixes. They actually dared to speak to Yi Xian with such contempt. Gu Beichen had already sentenced the three of them to death. Hee, I'm sure that you'll die miserably. In the next moment, Fatty Huang laughed sinisterly as the corners of his mouth curved into a sinister and cruel smile. No one understood Yi Xian better than him. These three people would probably regret coming here. You're courting death. The three emissaries were furious. They directly ignored Yi Xian and the 5 great sect masters and attacked Fatso Huang and the North Dark sect with 3 great techniques. Immediately, the world rumbled and shook. Bang! Sect Master Juku took a step forward. Her slender hand flipped the sky and blocked the 3 emissaries' attacks calmly. Then, she returned to Yi Xian's side. Sect Master Juku, how dare you go against the 3 great sects of the North Territory? The North Dark Sect emissary's face was red as he scolded Sect Master Juku. Yi Tian, if you're smart, immediately disband your so-called Celestial Court. That way you can still keep your life. Otherwise, when the 3 great sects of the North Territory take action, you and your so-called Celestial Court will be burned to the ground. The emissary of the goddess sect scolded loudly. Now, the emissaries of the 3 great sects are here to persuade you. You still have a chance to disband the Celestial Court. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences, the underworld emissary said coldly. At this moment, Yi Xian's figure didn't move as he indifferently sat in the middle of the main seat. He only looked at the 3 envoys with an extremely indifferent gaze that didn't contain the slightest bit of human emotion, as if he was looking at 3 flies. Kill them, cut off their heads, and send them back to the 3 great sections. Say that it's a greeting gift from me to the 3 great sections. Yi Xian calmly waved his hand at the 5 great sect masters as if he was saying something very casual. You dare? The emissaries of the 3 great sects were startled at first. Then, they looked at Yi Xian furiously. They had thought that Yi Xian would be terrified and even beg for mercy. Then, they would reprimand Yi Xian, which would easily make Yi Xian disband the Celestial Court. Then, they would go back to report to their superiors. But now, it seemed that things were not as they had thought. How could they not be angry? Sect Master, these 3 people are emissaries of the 3 great sects of the North Territory. If you kill them, the 3 great sects of the North Territory. The Flying Saint Sect Master hesitated and looked troubled. Kill them. The next moment, Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and his face darkened instantly. The Flying Saint Sect Master's expression also changed. Only then did he remember that Yi Xian was an extremely fierce and terrifying person. Before the Flying Saint Sect Master could make a move, Sect Master Corpse Kuei instantly appeared in front of the 3 emissaries. The terrifying corpse light slammed toward the 3 emissaries. With his cultivation of the Tao integration realm, how could the 3 emissaries resist him? Bang! With just one blow, the 3 emissaries cried out in pain and were instantly knocked to the ground by Sect Master Corpse Kuei. The other 4 Sect Masters also made a move. They all secretly regretted that they had not made a move earlier and allowed Sect Master Corpse Kuei to show his loyalty. No! Don't kill me! How dare you! The 3 emissaries coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and screamed. Their faces were filled with fear. However, the 4 sect masters arrived in an instant and used their terrifying skills to blow them up on the spot. 3 bloody heads rolled on the ground. The 3 emissaries died with their eyes wide open. Even though they did not close their eyes before they died, they could not understand why they would lose their lives here. It was supposed to be an extremely easy mission. Chapter 1436. The strong were like the sky while the weak were like dogs. This was the cruel law of survival. The strong always controlled the fate of the weak. The so-called rules were set by the strong while the weak could only follow the rules set by the strong. When the weak did not follow the rules set by the strong, the only outcome for the weak was death. The messengers of the three sects were the best example. Send their heads to the three sections. Tell them that I will visit the three sects in the future to seek advice from the three sects, Yi Xian said calmly. 3 bloody heads were sent to the 3 sects of the North region. The representatives of the various sects who witnessed the sudden change kept quiet out of fear. The entire venue of the founding ceremony was dead silent. At this moment, the representatives of the various sects finally realized that the merger of the 6 sects into one sect of the Celestial Court was not a joke. It was truly about to rise in the North Star region. Yi Xian killed without hesitation. He did not leave any face for the 3 sects of the North region at all. This was also a declaration of war against the 3 sects of the North region. An extremely oppressive atmosphere grew. The representatives of the various sects were silent with heavy expressions. An extremely ominous premonition was growing. They were very sure that the North region would be in chaos soon. Haha. Suddenly, just as the atmosphere was extremely heavy, a loud laughter was heard. A white-robed old Taoist slowly walked over from the horizon. It was obvious that the laughter was coming from him. Sect leader Yi, you are so powerful. You have killed the messengers of the 3 sections. Aren't you afraid that the 3 sects of the North region will join forces and destroy your orthodoxy? The white-robed old Taoist spoke as he appeared in the center of the venue. He even sized up Yi Xian with a strange gaze. However, with the appearance of the white-robed old Taoist, the 5 sect leaders' expressions changed. Great fear flashed across their eyes because the person who came was extremely fierce. Who are you? Yi Xian looked at the white-robed old Taoist indifferently and squinted his eyes slightly. This white-robed old Taoist's cultivation was not simple. He was actually an existence of the immortal realm. His cultivation should be similar to Li Congqian's. Sect Master, this man is the White-Bone Taoist. He reached the immortal realm 1,000,000 years ago. He's a great demon in the North region. You have to be careful. Jiu Chu Suzerain transmitted his voice and told him the man's identity. Greetings, Sect Master Yi. I heard that you established the Celestial Court, so I came uninvited. I hope you don't blame me. The White-Bone Taoist chuckled with a peaceful look on his face. He didn't look like a terrifying old devil at all. Instead, he gave off a sage-like vibe. So it's fellow Taoist White-Bone. Please take a seat. Now that a sempiternal realm expert had arrived, Yi Xian appeared very calm. He directly invited the White-Bone Taoist to take a seat. Sect Master Yi, aren't you going to ask me why I'm here? The White-Bone Taoist did not move, but a playful smile appeared on his face. No matter why you're here, today is the grand ceremony of the Celestial Court. As long as you're not here to cause trouble, the Celestial Court will welcome you and treat you with respect, Yi Xian said calmly. Sect Master Yi is indeed broad-minded. However, Li Congqian is my good friend. I heard that you killed him, so I'm here to seek justice for my good friend. The peaceful smile on the White-Bone Taoist's face disappeared. It was replaced by a gloomy and cold look. White light rippled on the surface of his body, and a wisp of sempiternal realm aura spread out. It seems that you're here with ill intentions? Yi Xian said calmly. Yi Dao Yu, I see that you're only in the Dao comprehending realm. I don't believe that you can kill Li Congqian. Today, I just want to ask you for advice. The White-Bone Taoist didn't waste any time. White light burst out, and his immortal realm aura rolled across the sky. He directly cast the immortal realm great technique and attacked Yi Xian. Mister, be careful. Although he knew that Yi Xian wouldn't be in danger, Gu Beichen couldn't help but remind him. Bang! Yi Xian didn't move as he raised his 5 fingers. The immortal great technique that the White-Bone Taoist had struck towards him was directly crushed by him. The dense white waterfall turned into green smoke in his hand as he looked at the White-Bone Taoist with indifferent eyes. Hiss! When Yi Xian casually blocked the White-Bone Taoist's attack, the various sects' representatives gasped. The White-Bone Taoist's expression changed slightly, and a dignified look flashed across his eyes. Take one of my attacks too. Boom! The void exploded. Yi Xian flicked his finger, and a wisp of terrifying heaven burial light appeared on his fingertip. Then, it shot towards the white-bone Taoist with an ear-piercing boom. Facing Yi Xian's attack, the white-bone Taoist's expression changed drastically. Yi Xian was only in the Tao-comprehending realm, but his casual attack was definitely not weaker than his. Go! The white-bone Taoist didn't dare to be careless. He summoned the white-bone 9-section staff and quickly used it to block in front of him. Bang! Heaven and earth exploded, and the ground cracked. The white-bone 9-section staff cracked like a spider web. The white-bone Taoist's figure retreated rapidly, and the ground under his feet was sketched out a huge trench. He retreated for a full 1,000 feet before stopping. Not bad. How about you take one of my attacks? Boom! Yi Xian stood up from the sect leader's throne. The terrifying heaven burial lights surrounded his body, and waves of terrifying fluctuations spread out. Bang! 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 Heaven and earth violently shook, and the mountains shook. Even the mountains within hundreds of millions of miles shook slightly. Yi Xian slowly raised his hands, as if he was lifting the ancient dome of heaven. The incomparably heavy suppressive force filled the sky and earth. Just a glance at it made one's soul tremble to the extreme. Rumble! The heavenly Yin mountain was shaking, and the clouds in the sky were collapsing. Yi Xian's hands were glowing. This was an unparalleled light, and even more so, the light of suppression. His face was cold and indifferent, and his eyes were rotating endlessly. It was as if this attack could cause the destruction of heaven and earth. Sect Leader Yi, please calm down. I was just joking with you. Why do you have to make such a big fuss? The white-bone Taoist instantly panicked. He knew that he had gone too far. The white-bone Taoist was sure that he was definitely not a match for Yi Xian's terrifying aura. If Yi Xian's attack really landed, even if he didn't die, he would definitely be severely injured. This was not the result he wanted to see. I hate joking. Moreover, is this the place for you to joke? Boom! Dominating the mountains and rivers, suppressing heaven and earth. The phantom of a heavenly divine mountain appeared in Yi Xian's hands. The boundless clouds in the sky were rolling, and the astral winds were howling. Although the phantom of the heavenly divine mountain wasn't big, it was condensed by Yi Xian's combat strength. This attack was definitely not something the white-bone Taoist could withstand. Suppress! The 6 desires were emotionless, and heaven and earth were heartless. Yi Xian's hands suddenly fell. The heavenly divine mountain rumbled, and with a mighty force that could destroy heaven and earth, it suppressed the white-bone Taoist. You old things, this is all your fault. Why aren't you attacking? Do you want to watch me die here? Chapter 1437. In the face of Yi Xian's crushing attack, Taoist Whitebone stomped his feet and cursed. He even unleashed all of his cultivation to block Yi Xian's attack. However, his eyes were filled with regret. If he had known that Sect Master Yi was so terrifying, he would not have stood out. Otherwise, he would not have landed himself in such a dangerous situation. Yi Daoyu, please calm down. Whitebone means no harm. Fellow Taoist, please calm down. Fellow Taoist, please stop. Suddenly, 3 deep voices sounded out. Ripples appeared in the air as 3 figures instantly appeared beside the white-bone Taoist. The terrifying immortal force slapped out with a flip of their hands, all of them heading towards Yi Xian's annihilation attack. Bang! Heaven and earth exploded and the mountains and rivers shook. This attack turned the sky and earth upside down. The entire heavenly Yin mountain was exploding as if it would collapse at any time. Freeze! Yi Xian stretched out his 5 fingers and froze the entire heavenly Yin mountain. The aftershock of this attack spread out in all directions. Countless mountains were turned into ashes, proving how terrifying this attack was. A large amount of smoke and dust dissipated, and 3 people wearing strange clothes appeared. One of them was wearing a red robe. He had a head full of red hair and was surrounded by an unknown flame. His eyes were like copper bells and he gave off an extremely ferocious vibe. One of them was wearing a green robe. His skin was purple and his fangs were exposed. His eyes were dark green and sinister. At first glance, one could tell that he was not a kind person. The last person was wearing a 9-colored robe. She was a woman and a peerless beauty. However, her red lips were too red and it completely destroyed her beauty. It made one's hair stand on end as if they were being stared at by a beautiful snake. Who are you guys? Looking at the 3 people in front of him and the white-boned Taoist, these 4 people were all at the immortal realm. Moreover, this woman in 9-colored clothes was even at the immortal realm when she opened the first heaven gate. This caused Yi Xian's eyes to narrow slightly as a strange expression flashed through his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Actually, Yi Xian had already sensed the existence of the 4 of them from the very beginning. However, he didn't expose them and directly ordered the 5 great sects to take over the 3 envoys. This was also killing a chicken to scare the monkeys, and could be considered as giving the 4 of them a show of strength. Now that the 4 immortal realm experts had all appeared and they did not look like good people, Yi Xian naturally had some ideas. They were the so-called great demons of the North region. It was mentioned before that when the 6 sects united to establish the celestial court, the strength of the middle and lower levels of the 6 sects were not weaker than the 3 great sects of the North region. However, Yi Xian was the only one with high-end combat strength. This was a fatal flaw. Yi Xian was a scheming person, so he naturally considered this fatal flaw. However, even a clever woman couldn't cook without rice, so he had no way of solving it. Before the founding ceremony, Yi Xian had wanted to subdue some demons for his own use to strengthen the celestial court. This would also increase the high-end combat strength of the celestial court. Now, before Yi Xian could look for these demons, 4 great demons had come knocking on his door. This was exactly what Yi Xian wanted. If he could recruit the 4 great demons in front of him into the celestial court, he would have enough confidence to stir up chaos in the North region. He would not dare to say that he could compete with the 3 great sects of the North region, but he would not be too weak. Sect Master Ye's cultivation is at the Tong Tian level. We admire you very much. Taoist Crimson Demon said in a low muffled voice. He cupped his hands and bowed to Yi Xian. White Bones was just joking with Sect Master before. I hope Sect Master Yi doesn't take it seriously. Taoist Green Ghost said in a sinister voice. He smiled at Yi Xian. However, his smile was too ugly. It was better not to smile. Sect Master Yi, please don't blame us. The 4 of us came with no evil intentions. We just want to make friends with you. Taoist White Bones smiled awkwardly. He was trembling with fear just now. If the 3 old demons did not help him, he would have been injured by Yi Xian. Hee. Qi Lian Demonis covered her mouth and giggled. When we heard that Li Tsong Tian was killed by cult leader, we didn't believe it at first. Now that we've seen cult leader in person, we know that you are indeed worthy of your reputation. I also want to befriend cult leader Yi. As the saying goes, one does not slap a smiling face. Since the 4 old demons showed goodwill and they were all in the immortal realm, Yi Xian naturally would not treat them coldly. So it was just a misunderstanding. For Dao friends, please take a seat. After the sect establishment ceremony ends, I will hold a banquet to welcome you all. Yi Xian smiled and invited the 4 old demons to take a seat. The representatives of the various sects frowned and the smiles on their faces were extremely stiff. They only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. It was no wonder that the representatives of the various sects were so nervous. These 4 old demons were famous in the North region for being ruthless and difficult to deal with. Moreover, the 4 of them had a common characteristic. They had all offended the 3 great sects of the North region and were on the must-kill list of the 3 great sections. However, even though the 3 great sects of the North region were giants and the 3 overlords of the North Star Starfield, these 4 old demons were still in the immortal realm. Moreover, their methods were vicious and ruthless. After so many years, they were still living well in the North region. Today, the 4 old demons were here for no good reason. Now that the 6 sects had merged into one to establish the celestial court, the 4 old demons were probably here for something to think about. The sect establishment ceremony proceeded in an orderly manner. After Yi Xian read the eulogy, the ceremony ended in just the time it took for an incense stick to burn. After the representatives of the various sects congratulated the establishment of the celestial court, They left one after another. Obviously, they were going to return to their sects and inform them of what had happened today. Yi Xian naturally wouldn't ask these ants to stay. Although today's sect establishment ceremony was a little quiet, it wasn't important to Yi Xian. He was just going through the formalities. His ultimate goal was to tell the various forces of the North region that the Celestial Court would become the fourth great sect of the North region. The sect establishment ceremony ended hastily, but the four old demons didn't leave. Yi Xian warmly invited them to stay and even set up a banquet to welcome them. On the top of the snow bamboo peak, snow filled the sky, and the north wind was cold. A pine tree was wrapped in silver under the falling snow. Under the snow-covered pine tree, Yi Xian was drinking with the four old demons. "This is a top-grade wine that I brought from the Central Territory. Fellow Taoists, please have a taste." Fatso Huang picked up the wine jug and poured wine for the four old demons. Yi Xian had a smile on his face as he raised his cup towards the four. Then, he drank all of the wine in his cup. "Good wine, it is indeed good wine." Taoist Crimson Fiend put down his cup and praised. The other three also slowly nodded. Clearly, the wine that they drank was definitely a saint-grade wine. "Come, let me give another toast to the four of you." Yi Xian once again raised his cup and drank all of the wine. Then he chatted with the four old demons. Although the four had smiles on their faces, their brows were slightly furrowed as if they had something on their minds. Yi Xian clearly saw their expressions. This made Yi Xian secretly sneer. He was only rambling and talking nonsense. From time to time, he would exchange cups with the four old demons in a completely fake manner. Yi Xian was waiting. He was waiting for the four old demons to take the initiative to talk to him. It was obvious that these four old devils weren't good people. They were all sinister and vicious people. How could they possibly be here to argue with Yi Xian over a cup of wine? Chapter 1438. Sect Master Ye's cultivation base is profound. Although the North Star starfield is a large region, a monstrous genius like you shouldn't be buried in the bitter cold of the North Star starfield. You should be in the Central Star starfield competing with the other geniuses. The White Bone Taoist said respectfully. Although we can be considered as heroes in the North Star starfield, we know that we are frogs at the bottom of a well. Seeing that your techniques and divine abilities are extraordinary, you must be from the Central Star starfield, right? The Green Ghost Taoist probed. The two great demons probed. Obviously, they were trying to find out Yi Xian's background. However, Yi Xian kept a smile on his face and said some meaningless words. This made the four great demons' eyes flicker. They knew that Yi Xian was also an extremely shrewd person. Leisurely sipping his wine and smiling at each other, this was Yi Xian's attitude. He chatted with the four great demons at a moderate pace. This state lasted for half a day. At first, the four great demons were able to deal with it calmly. However, as time passed, the four of them showed a hint of anxiety on their faces. Sect Master Yi, a straightforward person, doesn't resort to insinuations. The four of us did come here to make friends with you, but more importantly, we want to see your attitude. The Crimson Witch didn't want to feign civility with Yi Xian anymore. She could see that if they didn't take the initiative to state their intentions, this banquet would last until next year. My attitude? Yi Xian pretended to be puzzled. He put down his wine cup and asked with a puzzled expression. Sect Master Yi, you are a smart person. Not to mention that you killed the three envoys, just the fact that you established the Celestial Court has already attracted the killing intent of the three great sects in the North Star starfield. Don't you know how dangerous you are right now? The Crimson Demon Taoist said in a deep voice. Since the beginning of the 10th Yuan era, there have only been three great sects in the North Star starfield. After nearly 300 million years, it's not that no one could establish a fourth great sect. However, without exception, they were all destroyed by the three great sects in the North Star starfield. Tao friend, aren't you afraid? The White Bone Taoist added. Hierarchy's talent is unparalleled, and you are a heaven-defying monster. You can fight against an immortal at the third level of Tao querying. This kind of battle record is unique in the entire northern region. But hierarchy, you have to know that the three great sects of the northern region dominate the entire northern region. You establishing the heavenly court is going against them. They won't let you go, Green Ghost said. Yi Xian slowly put down his wine cup. The smile on his face disappeared. He looked at the four demons indifferently and said, "For Dao friends, you have said so much, but I still don't understand what you mean. Even if the three great sects in the North Star Starfield want to destroy my celestial court is not made of mud." As Yi Xian finished speaking, the four demons looked at each other and nodded secretly. The white-bone Taoist lowered his voice and said, "Yi Dao Yu, although you can fight against an immortal at the Dao seeking third level, you are only one person. The three great sects in the North Star Starfield have more than 10 immortal at the North Star Starfield. Moreover, there is an immortal who has opened the third gate of heaven. How can you fight against them alone? Sect Master Yi, let's not beat around the bush. The six great sects indeed have the strength of a great sect. The only thing they lack is high-end battle strength. If Sect Master Yi is willing to form an alliance with the four of us, the three great sects in the North Star Starfield might not be able to do anything as they wish." The Green Ghost Taoist said with a sinister smile. "Yi Daoyu, let's be frank. The four of us have been enemies with the three great sects in the North Star Starfield for many years. Dao friend, you are also an enemy of the three great sections. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. As long as we help each other, we will definitely be able to take root in the North Star Starfield. Even the three great sects will have to be wary of us." The Scarlet Witch said seriously. Looking at the serious expressions of the four demons, Yi Xian slowly nodded. He seemed to have realized something at this moment and said, "So the four of you want to form an alliance with me?" "That's right. Although the four of us are rogue cultivators, we are still at the immortal realm. Moreover, the Scarlet Witch has already opened the first gate of heaven. Adding you, Brother Yi, we have 5 immortal realm experts. Even the three great sects of the North Star Starfield will have to consider the consequences of offending us. They might not be able to bear the consequences." The white-bone Taoist said proudly. "The four of you do have a point." Yi Xian nodded approvingly. "Then Dao friend agrees?" The white-bone Taoist's face was filled with joy. Their purpose in coming here was to test Yi Xian's cultivation and see if he could fight against immortal realm experts like the rumor said. Secondly, they wanted to form an alliance with Yi Xian. Only then would they be able to resist the oppression of the three great sects in the North Star Starfield for many years. At this moment, the four demons' eyes were filled with joy because they were certain that Yi Xian would definitely agree. After all, the alliance between them was a good thing that would only benefit them. If they were in Yi Xian's shoes, they would immediately agree. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the joy on the faces of the four devils froze. Then they gradually darkened, and their eyes carried a trace of cold and furious killing intent. It was all because Yi Xian had said something extremely humiliating to them. "The four of you are nothing but stray dogs that have been hunted down by the three great sects of the North Star Starfield all year round. What qualifications do you have to form an alliance with me?" The smile on Yi Xian's face disappeared and his voice instantly turned cold. He was like a completely different person from before. This great reversal made the four demons feel like they were in a dream. Bang! Taoist Crimson Demon's temper was the most fiery. He only came back to his senses after 3 breaths of time. Then he smashed the stone table in front of them into pieces. "Yidian, don't be so shameless. How dare you humiliate us?" Taoist Crimson Demon roared angrily. "Yi Dao, even if you don't want to form an alliance with us, why do you have to humiliate us like stray dogs? Isn't this a bit too much?" Taoist Green Ghost said maliciously. "Sect Leader Yi, I admire your cultivation. However, we are immortal beings, yet you dare to humiliate us without restraint. Aren't you afraid of dying here today?" Taoist Whitebone's eyes turned cold. The 3 demons were furious. Only Scarlet Witch did not say a word. She only looked at Yi Xian with a cold gaze. Clearly, she was angry in her heart. Hee hee. Looking at the angry faces of the 4 demons, Yi Xian laughed. However, his laughter was filled with disdain. This made the 4 demons even more furious. Their immortal energy faintly bloomed on the surface of their bodies. The void around them began to distort strangely. It was as if they could attack Yi Xian at any time. For immortal beings were so terrifying. Even if Yi Xian's battle strength was heaven-defying, he would definitely be defeated if he were to face 4 immortal beings. At this moment, Fatso Huang's face was filled with anxiety. He didn't know why Yi Xian would provoke the 4 demons. Even if he didn't want to form an alliance with the 4 demons, he could have just sent them away. Why did he have to provoke them? Am I wrong to call you stray dogs? Yi Xian spoke in disdain. Without waiting for the 4 of them to speak, Yi Xian pointed at the white-bone Taoist and said, "White-bone Taoist, your real name is Bai Shou. You were originally a puppet of the Tong Ming school and have always been controlled by the Tong Ming school. I don't know where you got the opportunity to cultivate your own intelligence, but you even stole the Northern Chill Elemental Orb of the Northern Nether sect. After many years of cultivation, you barely stepped into the immortal realm, and the Northern Nether sect chased after you all year long." Chapter 1439. You? The white-bone Taoist's expression changed. He wanted to refute Yi Xian, but he didn't know what to say because Yi Xian was telling the truth. "And you?" Yi Xian pointed at Green Ghost and sneered, "Green Ghost Taoist, you were the left protector of the Underworld sect, but you were rejected by the Underworld Saintess because you fell in love with her. Later on, she married the Underworld Saint's son, and you poisoned him to death on the wedding day. You even tainted the Underworld Saintess, causing the 2 sects to issue in order to kill you. You're even worse than the white-bone Taoist, so don't you think you're a stray dog?" "Bullshit, I was the one who poisoned you, but I didn't kill the Underworld Saint's son. It was that bitch, the Underworld Saintess, who framed me and said I tainted her purity. I must kill this bitch." Green Ghost Taoist lost his cool and roared at Yi Xian. "And you, Crimson Demon?" Yi Xian ignored Green Ghost Taoist's roar and ignored him. He pointed at Crimson Demon again and said, "Even though you're not from the 3 sects, you're extremely daring. For the sake of your own cultivation, you slaughtered the disciples guarding the spirit veins of the 3 sections. No one survived. In the end, the 3 sects found out that it was you who did it. It can be said that you've been hunted by the 3 sects for years. Don't you think you're a stray dog?" "You're right," Taoist Crimson Fiend roared darkly. "However, if we cultivators want to become powerful in this bitterly cold place, then we have to fight for it. The 3 sects control the cultivation resources of the northern region. They forced me to do this." Clap, clap, clap. Suddenly, a series of claps was heard. The Scarlet Witch, who had been silent for a long time, slowly stood up. She looked at Yi Xian and said, "In such a short time, you were able to find out the background of the 3 demons. I'm truly impressed." At this point, Scarlet Serpent Witch paused for a bit, then continued with a disdainful smile, "However, if you think that you can make us lose our minds just because you know our background, then you are underestimating us too much." "No, no, no." Yi Xian repeatedly waved his hand as he looked at the Scarlet Witch with a smile and said, "How could I possibly want you to lose your minds? I just know you guys very well, and I have great admiration in my heart. After all, after being chased by the 3 great sects of the northern region for so many years, you fellows are still able to chat with me while drinking wine. Just this point alone is enough to make me admire you." Yi Xian paused for a moment as he spoke. He looked at the Scarlet Witch with a playful expression and said, "However, although I admire the 3 of you, the person I admire the most is still you, fellow Taoist Qi Lian." "Me?" Scarlet Witch frowned as a hint of panic flashed through her eyes. It was not strange for Yi Xian to know about the 3 demons. After all, the 3 demons had a grudge against the 3 great sects of the north. He could easily find out about it if he asked around. However, Scarlet Witch's story was kept a secret. Very few people knew about it. However, when she saw Yi Xian's playful expression, the Scarlet Witch's heart trembled. She felt as if she was standing naked in front of Yi Xian, as if he knew all the secrets on her body. Of course it's fellow Taoist Qi Lian. Because fellow Taoist is truly ruthless. He even slaughtered his own master, senior sister, and junior sister. Moreover, fellow Taoist only did it for a man. "You're lying." Suddenly, the Scarlet Witch seemed to have received some sort of stimulation. Her originally calm face instantly distorted, and her beautiful eyes turned completely red. An extremely terrifying aura pervaded the air, and her gaze towards Yixian was filled with extreme panic. I'm lying? Facing the berserk Scarlet Witch, Yixian curled his lips in disdain and said, "Only fellow Taoist Qi Lian knows if I'm talking nonsense or not. However, I do admire fellow Taoist Qi Lian. With fellow Taoist cultivation and beauty, what kind of man can make you do such a crazy thing? There's a good saying, rage for a beauty. Although this saying is not suitable for you, fellow Taoist, you can use rage for a beauty. This is also a good saying in the northern region. You're courting death. Rumble." Under the provocation of Yi Xian's ridicule, the Scarlet Witch roared in shame and indignation. The 9 poison devil light exploded through the air as it swept towards Yi Xian. From the looks of it, it seemed as if it wanted to grind Yi Xian into dust with a single strike. You dare to show off your slight skill in front of an expert? Yi Xian attacked with a bang. His 5 fingers seemed as if they wanted to crush the entire world as he slapped his palm towards the Scarlet Witch. The terrifying heaven-bearing light shook the mountains and rivers, directly shattering the 9-colored poison light and causing the Scarlet Witch to fly backwards. What kind of joke was this? Yi Xian had defeated Taoist Scarlet Flame, who had opened the second heaven gate, fair and square. Scarlet Witch had only opened the first heaven gate. Under this attack, she was at a disadvantage. Scarlet Witch? The expressions of the 3 devils instantly changed. They instantly caught the Scarlet Witch and returned with a loud bang, directly surrounding Yi Xian in the center. The 4 of them had gloomy expressions that contained an extremely terrifying killing intent. I advise you not to fight with me. Otherwise, not only will the 3 great sects of the North region hunt you down, even the Celestial Court will treat you as enemies. Facing the 4 devils' encirclement, Yi Xian said calmly, as if he had nothing to fear. It was as if he had already defeated the 4 devils. Speak, how did you know about my secret? Scarlet Witch shouted. Not many people knew about her secret. Yi Xian wasn't even from the North region. How did he know about her secret? You are the saintess of the goddess sect. Because of a man, you killed your master and even killed your fellow disciples. You have become the greatest humiliation of the goddess sect. It is a miracle that you are still alive. Yi Xian said indifferently. Speak, how did you know about my secret? Scarlet Witch shouted in panic. She felt that she had no secrets in front of Yi Xian. This caused her mind to be in a mess. Scarlet Witch's life was extremely miserable. This matter was also her biggest sore point. Today, Yi Xian opened up her wound, causing her to be shocked and furious. How I know is not important. What is important is that the 4 of you have an irreconcilable feud with the 3 great sects of the North region. You have been hiding everywhere like stray dogs. Today, you came here to form an alliance with me. This might seem beneficial to me, but if the 3 great sects of the North region knew about this, I'm afraid they would not have the heart to attack the Celestial Court. This is because the 4 of you also want to destroy the Celestial Court. Yi Xian said coldly. Hearing Yi Xian's words, the 4 devils gradually calmed down. Although they hated Yi Xian for humiliating them, they had to admit that what Yi Xian said was the truth. Although the 4 of them were immortal experts, they had been hiding in the North region like stray dogs. This was because the 3 great sects hated them to the bone. Anyone who was related to them would not have a good ending. Chapter 1440. Sect Master Yi, since you don't want to form an alliance with us, we won't force you. We'll take our leave. The white-bone Taoist was the calmest. He signaled the other 3 with his eyes, indicating for them to leave with him. In fact, the 4 demons wanted to kill Yi Xian to vent their anger. However, Yi Xian wasn't a pushover. They could tell that Yi Xian's combat strength was terrifying from his clash with the Scarlet Witch. Even if the 4 of them worked together, they might not be able to kill Yi Xian. Moreover, if they couldn't kill Yi Xian, they would become enemies with Yi Xian. Although the Celestial Court was a newly established sect, its scale wasn't inferior to any of the great sects in the North region. Moreover, the 5 sect masters were all in the Tao integration realm. If they reached the Immortal realm in the future, they would be in big trouble. Moreover, Yi Xian was already so terrifying even though he was only in the Dao integration realm. If he reached the immortal realm, he would be able to kill them all by himself. This was the reason why the four demons were afraid. The pursuit of the three great sects in the North region had already made them breathless. If the celestial court joined the fray, no matter how big the North region was, there wouldn't be a place for them to stay. The four demons were speechless and were about to leave. However, before they could leave, Yi Xian took a step forward and blocked their path. How dare you come and go as you please? What do you think the celestial court is? Yi Xian looked at the four demons calmly, as if he had nothing to fear. The four demons' expressions changed slightly. They hadn't caused any trouble for Yi Xian yet, but Yi Xian had blocked their path. This was too much for the four demons. The white bone Taoist suppressed his anger and looked at Yi Xian maliciously. Sect Master Yi, since you don't want to form an alliance with us, we naturally don't want to disturb your sect. Why are you blocking our path? The green ghost Taoist also said coldly, people who walk different paths can't work together. Do you think we're easy to bully by blocking our path? Yi Tian, it's not that we're afraid of you. We just don't want to make enemies with you. If you really want to bully us, then we'll teach you a lesson today. The three demons were suppressing their anger. The Scarlet Witch stared at Yi Xian fiercely, as if she was ready to fight at any moment. Yi Xian lightly smiled as he looked at the four demons' furious expressions. Although you guys aren't worthy of forming an alliance with this sect leader, you can still join the heavenly court. From now on, listen to my orders. That's the best of both worlds. A deathly silence. When Yi Xian's words entered their ears, the originally furious expressions of the four devils froze. Their faces were filled with astonishment and confusion. This state lasted for a full 10 breaths of time before they returned to their senses. You're delusional. Do you think you're qualified? At the same time, the four demons shouted at the same time. Their faces were filled with anger. They looked at Yi Xian with a mixture of anger and suspicion. It was no wonder the four demons were so moved. They didn't expect Yi Xian to be so ambitious. He wanted the four of them to join the celestial court. This was simply a joke, a huge joke. Joining the celestial court meant that they would become Yi Xian's subordinates. They would have to listen to Yi Xian in everything. Under his orders, they would have to fight for Yi Xian. How could the four demons submit to an existence in the immortal realm? Indeed, the four demons had been hunted by the three great sects of the north. They had been hiding from place to place. Their living conditions were extremely worrying. They had to be careful of the three great sects of the north. But it was unacceptable for them to submit to Yi Xian and become Yi Xian's subordinates. The immortal realm was the upper class in the chaotic world. Any immortal realm expert could establish a sect. Even the immortal realm experts in the three great sects of the north region were bigwigs. It was reasonable for them to submit to the three great sects of the north region. But Yi Xian hadn't even reached the immortal realm. It was a big joke for them to submit to such a person. It seems that you don't want to? Yi Xian seemed to have already expected this result. However, his expression remained calm and his face was brimming with an indescribable sense of confidence. Hierarchy, we admit that you have the battle strength of an expert in the immortal realm. You're even stronger than us. But don't you think you're too ambitious if you want us to join the celestial court? White Bone Taoist said coldly. Ambitious? Ha! Yi Xian smiled evilly and said, I've never lacked ambition. And I believe that you'll join the celestial court. What a joke! What makes you think you can do that? Red Serpent Witch rebuked coldly. She had long found Yi Xian an eyesore. If not for the fact that she couldn't kill Yi Xian, she would have attacked him. Why would she waste time talking nonsense with Yi Xian? What makes you think I can do that? Yi Xian looked around at the four devils, and the corner of his mouth curled into a strange smile. It's very simple. Because I'm able to help all of you annihilate the three great sects of the Northern Territory, and I'm even able to help all of you accomplish the wishes in your hearts. From now onwards, all of you don't have to be in a sorry state and avoid the pursuit of the three great sects of the Northern Territory. Hearing Yi Xian's words, the four demons were speechless. They looked at Yi Xian as if they were looking at an idiot. Do you know what you're talking about? The four of you must remember that it is often not the blade that kills, but the human heart and greed. When the human heart and greed are infinitely magnified, it will cause people to die without a burial ground. Yi Xian smiled as he finished speaking. However, when his smile entered the eyes of the four devils, it instantly caused their hearts to tremble. It was all because the smile on Yi Xian's face was too sinister. Even though they were undying beings, they still felt a chill run down their spines and couldn't help but shiver. Anyone can talk big. Who do you think you are? How can you divide the three sects of the North? Scarlet Serpent Witch retorted. The three sects of the North have been at odds since ancient times, but none of them can do anything to each other. There was once a war between the two sects, but in the end, it was left unsettled. White Bone Taoist continued. Clearly, Yi Xian's plan was too simple. Some people had thought of it before, but the three sects of the North were not stupid. How could they be fooled? Calling you all stupid is not wrong at all. You all, I naturally have my own methods, Yi Xian sneered. Yi Daoyu, what methods do you have? If you can really annihilate the three sects, I, Green Ghost, am willing to serve you. Suddenly, Green Ghost Taoist bowed towards Yi Xian. This also startled the other three demons. They didn't know why Green Ghost Taoist was so kind to Yi Xian. It seems that you are the only smart one among the four of you, Yi Xian praised. He had a whole new level of respect for Green Ghost Taoist. Please enlighten me, fellow Taoist. Green Ghost Taoist bowed. You only see the conflict between the three sects for their own benefits, which is the so-called cultivation resources. However, the real core is not these things, Yi Xian said with narrowed eyes. Sect Master Yi, you mean? Green Ghost Taoist's eyes lit up. He seemed to have grasped a trace of inspiration. His gaze towards Yi Xian began to become hopeful. Yi Xian's gaze was deep. He said in a deep voice, as the saying goes, a mountain cannot hold two tigers, let alone three tigers. The three sects have been hostile to each other for so many years. In fact, they all want to dominate the North and destroy the other two sects to truly become the king of the North. This is the true ambition of the three sections. Boom. Like thunder from the 9 heavens, like the waves of the vast ocean, Yi Xian's words reverberated in the ears of the four demons, causing them to be even more stunned. Seeing their stunned expressions, Yi Xian's lips curled into a strange smile. He knew that the four demons had taken the bait. Without waiting for them to come back to their senses, Yi Xian continued. However, even though the three sects have the ambition to dominate the North and even want to become the king of the North, none of them can do anything to each other. If one side attacks the other, the third sect will benefit from it. This is also the reason why the three sects are in a deadlock. What we need to do is very simple. We just need to break this deadlock. The three sects will definitely be in chaos. At that time, the wolves will devour the tigers. Destroying the three sects will not be a dream, Yi Xian said with a dark voice. That is true, but how can we break the deadlock between the three sects? That's right. How can we start a conflict between the three sects? Please enlighten us, Sect Master Yi. The four demons had already forgotten how Yi Xian humiliated them before. At this moment, they impatiently asked Yi Xian for advice. I told you before that you don't have to use a blade to kill people. Human nature and greed can make people die without a burial place. As long as there are enough benefits, I can use some methods to make the three sects fall into chaos, Yi Xian said with a smile. Please enlighten us, Sect Master, Green Ghost said anxiously. The deadlock between the three sects is nothing more than one side attacking the other, causing a situation where both sides lose and the other side reaps the benefits. However, the situation is different now. My sect, the Celestial Court, has become the fourth sect. With the addition of the four of you, we can compete with one of the sections. Even if we can't, we won't be too far behind. Therefore, whichever sect we stand with, that sect's strength will skyrocket. We can definitely break this deadlock, Yi Xian explained slowly. But Sect Master Yi, what you said is right. But now, the three sects want to destroy your Celestial Court. This, Green Ghost brought the problem back to the original point. However, this time, Yi Xian smiled evilly and said, therefore, They want to use the benefits that the three sects can't refuse to make the three sects fall into chaos and even attack each other. They won't have time to work together to destroy my celestial court. When the three sects start fighting, the celestial court's position will be the most important. I'm afraid that the three sects will come to rope us in, let alone destroy my celestial court, Yi Xian said with a gloomy voice. What kind of benefits can make the three sects attack each other? The four demons were puzzled. They couldn't think of any benefits that could make the three sects fall into chaos. They looked at Yi Xian with even more puzzlement. Break the void cauldron. Yi Xian's eyes were deep as he said word by word. Chapter 1442. What? Heaven-shattering cauldron? The four demons gasped and looked at Yi Xian in shock. The words, heaven-shattering cauldron, were as important as the vault of heaven. As everyone knew, the legend of the heaven-shattering cauldron was widely spread in the chaotic universe. The most popular rumor was that whoever obtained the heaven-shattering cauldron would become the strongest throughout the ages. Of course, this was only a rumor. No one knew if it was true or not. However, the four demons were very clear about one thing. Even the strongest throughout the ages coveted the heaven-shattering cauldron. This proved how important the heaven-shattering cauldron was. At this moment, Yi Xian directly said the words, heaven-shattering cauldron. How could the four demons not be shocked? However, after the initial shock, the four demons quickly calmed down. They looked at Yi Xian with eyes full of doubt. Sect Master Yi, could it be that you have the heaven-shattering cauldron? Taoist Crimson Demon probed. A trace of gloominess flashed through his eyes. As the saying goes, wealth can move people's hearts, let alone a legendary treasure like the heaven-shattering cauldron. You are really stupid. How could I have such a treasure? Yi Xian said coldly. This also made Taoist Crimson Demon speechless. He knew that he was overthinking. Yi Dao, you mean to say that the heaven-shattering cauldron appeared out of thin air in the northern region and then incite the three sects to attack each other? That way, you can achieve your goal of destroying the three sects? Taoist Green Ghost instantly understood Yi Xian's idea. That's right. Yi Xian nodded slowly. The heaven-shattering cauldron can indeed incite the three sects to fight each other. However, how do we spread this news? Moreover, the three sects are not fools. How can they believe this rumor? Scarlet Witch frowned. Scarlet Witch's question was also the same as the other three demons. The four of them looked at Yi Xian in confusion, hoping that Yi Xian could give a reasonable explanation. After all, anyone could talk big. However, it was too difficult to carry out this plan. Don't worry. I will personally go to the three sections. At that time, they will naturally believe it. Yi Xian said indifferently. What? You want to go to the three sects of the northern region personally? The four devils blurted out in shock. They didn't expect Yi Xian to be so bold. Wasn't he just throwing his life away? The four of you are really stupid. If I don't go there personally, how can I provoke the conflict between the three sects? This trip seems dangerous, but it's actually just a scare without any real danger, Yi Xian said with a smile. Actually, there was one thing that Yi Xian did not tell the four demons, and he would never tell them anyway. The heaven-shattering cauldron wasn't something he made up out of thin air. It really was in the North region, and it was in one of the three sects of the North region. Yi Xian's idea was very simple. Not only did he want to destroy the three sects, he also wanted to find the heaven-shattering cauldron and obtain it. The war between the three sects was his chance. If he only relied on his cultivation and the celestial court he created to destroy the three sects, it would take far too long. Yi Xian simply couldn't afford to wait. Moreover, if Yi Xian guessed correctly, the three sects of the north were hostile to each other. The heaven-shattering cauldron was in one of the three sections. Yi Xian didn't believe that the other two sects didn't know about it at all. After all, the remnant page that Song Huai didn't give him originally came from the north region to the central region. It was impossible for the three sects to not know about it at all. They had obviously been secretly searching for the heaven-shattering cauldron all these years. Therefore, Yi Xian was very confident. He believed that as long as he sent this information to the three sects, it would definitely cause a conflict between the three sections. To put it bluntly, Yi Xian could fabricate that the heaven-shattering cauldron was in one of the sects out of thin air. Then, he could sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, becoming the one who would benefit in the end. Sect Master Ye's courage is extraordinary. We admire you. Taoist Green Ghost bowed. It didn't matter if Yi Xian could succeed or not. Just his courage alone was not something they could compare to. Sect Master Yi, since we have already spoken up to this point, then we'll get straight to the point. As long as you can incite a war between the three sects, the four of us will join the Celestial Court and listen to your orders. Scarlet Witch coldly said, I second that. I second that as well. Taoist Whitebone and Taoist Crimson Demon spoke together. Even though they were shocked by Yi Xian's plan, it was only a plan. Only when it was truly carried out would they be willing to listen to Yi Xian's orders. However, Sect Master Yi said that as long as we join the Celestial Court, you will be able to fulfill our wishes. I wonder where this came from? Scarlet Witch finally asked the question that she wanted to know the most. Her secret being seen through by Yi Xian was a source of worry for her. In her eyes, Yi Xian was too mysterious. At this moment, she was testing Yi Xian for the last time. The four of you have wishes, but I want you to serve me first. I will fulfill your wishes in the shortest amount of time. In the future, the four of you will be my dogs. You will bite whoever I want you to bite. Yi Xian spoke in a sinister manner without the slightest trace of politeness. This caused the four devils to be enraged, because Yi Xian actually wanted the four of them to be dogs. This was the greatest insult to them. However, the four devils didn't erupt. Yi Xian's plan just now had made them excited. At this moment, they could only endure it for the time being. Yi Daoyu, you are truly arrogant and lawless. You actually want us four immortals to be your dogs. However, as long as you can fulfill our wrongdoings, so what if we become your dogs? Scarlet Witch coldly said. In her life, the thing that she hated the most was the man who ruined her life. She wanted nothing more than to eat his flesh and drink his blood. If Yi Xian could really help her find this person, she wouldn't mind even if she had to serve Yi Xian to his heart's content. Scarlet Witch, you were originally the saintess of the goddess sect. The man who betrayed you wanted you to help him steal the goddess holy scripture. However, when you succeeded, you were discovered by your master. You killed your master and your fellow sect members, resulting in your current situation. However, you can rest assured that within 10,000 years, I will help you find him and you will also become the goddess sect master. Yi Xian evilly smiled and eerily looked at Scarlet Witch. His words were filled with an unquestionable charm. All right. Scarlet Witch slowly nodded. She no longer wanted to know how Yi Xian knew her secret. As long as Yi Xian could accomplish these two things for her, she could finally obtain true freedom. Green Ghost Taoist, back then, you were used by the Nether Passage Saintess to frame you for killing the Dark North Saint Sun. Your greatest wish is to skin this bitch alive. I will personally help you kill the Nether Passage Saintess and even make you the new Nether Passage Sect Master. Yi Xian casually pointed at Green Ghost Taoist. Whitebone Taoist, you were originally a puppet of the Nether Passage Sect and were controlled by them for many years. You have suffered so much. You hate the people of the Nether Passage Sect the most. Destroying them is your greatest wish. I will help you fulfill this wish. If you are willing, you can also create a new Nether Passage Sect with Green Ghost Taoist. As for you, Red Ghost Taoist, you slaughtered the disciples of the three sects and crazily plundered their cultivation resources. Although your cultivation speed is extremely fast, you are constantly being chased by the three sections. Destroying the three sects can also be considered as solving your biggest problem. At that time, you can establish your own sect and become a sect master in the northern region. Chapter 1443. Yi Xian spoke frankly and made a huge promise to the four demons. This made the four demons' eyes light up, and they were moved by the beautiful future described by Yi Xian. It had to be said that Yi Xian was indeed a master in bewitching people. The four demons had been cultivating for years, so they were extremely unfamiliar with these methods. Although they still did not believe in Yi Xian, they were no longer hostile to Yi Xian. Instead, they were secretly looking forward to it. Since I've promised you two things, you have to do something for me. The Celestial Court has just been established, and the four of you have to oversee the Celestial Court while I have to go to the three religions of the northern region personally. This isn't too difficult for you, is it? Yi Xian said lightly. As Yi Xian finished speaking, the four demons looked at each other, then nodded and agreed. After all, both sides were mutually beneficial. If they did not perform, it would be unreasonable. Very quickly, Yi Xian and the four devils reached an agreement. The four devils could be considered to have officially joined the heavenly court. When the people from the sixth sects received this news, the originally heavy atmosphere immediately eased up, and the threat to the three great sects of the northern region became much more relaxed. Snow Bamboo Peak. Yi Xian was dressed in black and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the sea of clouds in front of him. A cool breeze blew, causing his hair to flutter gently. From afar, he looked like an elegant immortal. Sir, are you really going to the three religions of the northern region? Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen quietly appeared behind Yi Xian. They frowned slightly and looked at Yi Xian with faint worry in their eyes. One had to know that the three great sects of the northern region were like a tiger's den. Although Yi Xian could fight against immortals and had even killed Taoist Scarlet Flame, who had opened the second gate of heaven, the three great sects of the northern region didn't only have one immortal. If Yi Xian were to go alone, he'd probably encounter an extremely great danger. I've always done things appropriately. I know what to do and what not to do. I have to go to the three religions of the northern region. This is not only about us becoming the king of the northern region, but also about something extremely important to me. Yi Xian did not mention the heaven-shattering cauldron. Although he trusted Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen, it was not beneficial for them to know this. But sir, you killed the three religions' emissaries. I'm afraid that the three religions of the northern region will destroy the celestial court soon. If you go to the three religions of the northern region, you will be in danger. Danger? Yi Xian smiled. His smile was very strange, and there was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. Danger and opportunity always go hand in hand. This time, the three religions of the northern region will treat me as an important guest and try to rope me in. You can rest assured. It won't be long before the northern region falls into chaos. The real show is yet to come. Yi Xian murmured faintly. The next morning, under the gazes of the four demons, Yi Xian turned into a stream of light and rushed into the sky. His target was the three religions of the northern region, and his first stop was the Dark Church. My three friends, do you think he will succeed? Watching Yi Xian disappear into the horizon, the Crimson Witch frowned. There was an extremely complicated look in her eyes. If he dies in the hands of the three religions of the northern region, then we will plunder the resources of the six religions of the northern region and leave this place. If he succeeds, then that will be the best. Taoist Whitebone said gloomily. This person has only comprehended the Tao, but he has the ability to fight against immortal realm cultivators. This kind of person is a heaven-defying monster. He should be fighting in the central region. Why would he stay in the northern region? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Taoist Crimson Demon sighed in confusion. This person is extremely mysterious. His spells and abilities are extremely terrifying. He must have an unimaginable origin. I don't know why, but every time I look into his eyes, I feel a sense of fear. I have an extremely strong premonition that his trip to the three religions of the northern region this time might really succeed. Taoist Green Ghost said solemnly. All right, let's wait for his news. If he really dies in the hands of the three religions of the northern region, then we will leave this place immediately. The Crimson Witch said coldly. The sky was boundless and space was shuttling. Yi Xian was strolling in the sky. With every step he took, the clouds behind him would dissipate. His speed was simply astonishing. With Yi Xian's current cultivation base and the power of time and space, he didn't dare to say that he was moving at the primal chaos speed. However, it was simply impossible for anyone below the third sky of the immortal realm to catch up with him. Yi Xian's first stop was the dark penetrating cult. This was also the decision that Yi Xian made after considering for a long time. The three great religions of the northern region were the Dark North cult, the Dark Penetrating cult, and the Goddess cult. These three religions had existed since the beginning of the 10th Yuan Hui. It was rumored that the Dark Penetrating cult and the Goddess cult were orthodoxies passed down from the previous Yuan Hui. They had an extremely long history. The Dark Penetrating cult was both righteous and evil. They cultivated the Ghost Dao grand arts. To put it bluntly, they specialized in cultivating the soul. Their arts were mysterious and ruthless, and they often killed people without leaving a trace. They could control puppets, enslave ferocious beasts, and even turn dead experts into puppets. They could display an extremely terrifying might. The Dark Penetrating cult's way of doing things was sinister and ruthless. Moreover, they were best at gathering information about the northern region. This was also the reason why Yi Xian chose the Dark Penetrating cult. Among the three religions, the Dark Penetrating cult was the most likely to know about the heavenly void-breaking cauldron. This was also the best choice to instigate a conflict between the three religions. Of course, Yi Xian also considered that if the heavenly void-breaking cauldron was in the Dark Penetrating cult, he might really be in danger. However, Yi Xian wasn't worried about himself. With his cultivation base, even if he couldn't defeat the Dark Penetrating cult, the other party wouldn't be able to keep him here. As long as he could confirm that the heavenly void-breaking cauldron was in the Dark Penetrating cult, Yi Xian could escape from this place and send this information to the other two religions. At that time, it would naturally lead to a war between the three religions. With a well-thought-out plan, the overall situation was under his control. Everything was under Yi Xian's control. This trip seemed extremely dangerous, but in fact, it was nothing in Yi Xian's eyes. Everything would go according to his plan. In the vast heavenly palace, a cold wind whistled. Above the dome of the far north, a black heavenly palace appeared. Snow fluttered between heaven and earth, accompanied by a scene of yin qi filling the sky. Just looking at it from afar would make one's heart tremble. Dark Penetrating cult. One of the three overlords of the Northern Territory. This was the Dao field of the Dark Penetrating cult, and it was also the ancestral land of the Dark Penetrating cult. Every decree that affected the Northern Star field came from here. A majestic heavenly gate stood there. The gate was made of black crystals and shone brightly. The terrifying yin qi illuminated this part of the world. From time to time, one could faintly hear the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods coming from all directions. So close yet worlds apart, Yi Xian suddenly appeared outside the black heavenly gate. With Yi Xian's appearance, the two guards guarding the heavenly gate were shocked and pointed their weapons at Yi Xian. Which cultivator dares to trespass into our Dark Penetrating cult? The two guards shouted. Tell your cult master that Yi Xian of the Celestial Court has come to visit fellow Taoist Tong. Yi Xian stood with his hands behind his back and his voice resounded between heaven and earth. This time, he had come to the Dark Transcendence Church for the heaven-shattering cauldron. Such an ant-like character naturally wouldn't attract his attention. This holy sun is talking to you. Can't you hear me? Suddenly, Li Yi stopped and slowly turned to look at Yi Xian. His expression was cold and gloomy because he couldn't accept Yi Xian's disregard. You should be glad that you are in the Dark Transcendence cult right now. For the sake of the Transcendence cult, I can let you off. Otherwise, you will die a very, very miserable death. Yi Xian said indifferently. Haha. Li Yi was startled at first, but then he laughed wildly. When he stopped laughing, he stared at Yi Xian with a face full of killing intent. I thought I was already very arrogant, but after seeing you, I realized that you are even more arrogant than me. Do you really think that you have the strength to kill an immortal just because you used some dirty tricks to kill Li Tsongtian? I advise you to behave yourself in my Dark Transcendence cult. Otherwise, there is no need for my sex elders to kill you. Just me alone can make you die without a burial ground. Boom. Li Yi's body shook as he released his Dao-seeking realm cultivation. An extremely powerful aura poured down on Yi Xian. Obviously, he wanted to intimidate Yi Xian. Yi Xian was speechless at Li Yi's childish and idiotic actions. He looked at this person as if he was looking at an idiot. Yi Xian was really curious. Why were there always people who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth in this world? Why were there so many idiots? Not to mention whether Yi Xian could kill an immortal, just the cultivation level he displayed was one level higher than Li Yi's. Yi Xian suspected that this transcendence cult's holy son's brain had been kicked by a donkey. These thoughts only lasted for an instant, but Yi Xian's heart had already calmed down. There were too many idiots in this world. Perhaps this transcendence cult's holy son thought that he had to bow and scrape in the dark transcendence cult. Otherwise, why would he be so fearless? Yi Xian naturally wouldn't lower himself to this kind of idiot's level. He would just treat him like a fly. Yi Xian slowly walked towards the central palace as if he was strolling in a courtyard. This was because he could already feel several extremely powerful auras surging within the central palace. It was obvious that Tong Ming and the other undying beings were overseeing it. You dare to ignore this holy son? Looking at Yi Xian's attitude of ignoring him, the holy son of the netherworld, Li Yi, roared in anger. The dark light that filled the sky expanded around him, and killing intent burst out from his entire body. From the looks of it, he seemed to be about to attack Yi Xian. Disciple, you're a guest from afar. Back off. Before Li Yi could make a move, a deep voice came from the central palace. Chapter 1445. Even if the source of the Nine Mountains Wanderer's world wasn't destroyed, Yi Xian dared to conclude that the Nine Mountains Wanderer wasn't a match for the Nine Mountains Wanderer. Be it in terms of foundation, legacy, cultivation, secret skills, or even aura, loose cultivator Nine Mountain was no match for Tong Ming. Yi Xian was absolutely certain that if he were to fight with the Tong Ming sect leader, even if he were to use all of his methods, he definitely wouldn't be a match for the Tong Ming sect leader. Of course, the future transformation technique didn't count. After all, this technique could even kill the strongest of the ancient times. If Yi Xian had the chance to use this technique, then not to mention the Netherworld sect master, even if there were 10 or 100 of them, they would still die at Yi Xian's hands. However, Yi Xian could only think about it. The conditions for him to use the future transformation technique were too harsh. The timing, location, and people couldn't be lacking. It wasn't something that Yi Xian could achieve. Otherwise, Yi Xian wouldn't have spent so much effort to incite a battle between the three sections. He could directly use his future transformation and annihilate the three sects by himself. He could even kill his way back to the Great Central Region to compete with those ancient experts. You must be Dao friend Tong Ming, right? Yi Xian cupped his fists and greeted Tong Ming. Insolent! What right do you have to call our sect master as Dao friend? Tong Ming's fourth elder's face changed as he scolded Yi Xian. You're just a mere Dao comprehending state cultivator. How dare you call my master as Dao friend? Are you courting death? Tong Ming's saint's son, Li roared. Gideon, this is Tong Ming's sect. I hope you know your place. Second elder said in a low voice. Ha! Facing the warning of these people, Yi Xian chuckled and said indifferently, I'm talking to your sect master. Who do you think you are? Is this the place for you to speak? Yi Xian paused for a moment, then narrowed his eyes as he looked at Tong Ming and said, or could it be that the Tong Ming school doesn't differentiate between seniors and juniors, and doesn't know how to treat guests? The dignified sect master is here, yet he actually allowed the disciples and elders to casually interrupt? You! The Nether Passage Saint Child roared as his killing intent soared. He was clearly provoked by Yi Xian's words. Stand down. Suddenly, Tong Ming's sect master coldly shouted. This caused Li Yi to glare at Yi Xian hatefully. However, a cold, killing intent flashed through his eyes from time to time. Yi Tian, your mouth is very powerful and your guts are very big. However, you should know that if this sect master wanted to kill you, you wouldn't even have the chance to continue blabbering. Tong Ming's sect master said solemnly. Why does cult master want to kill me? Yi Xian asked even though he already knew the answer. The celestial court of the six sects. You have violated the rules of the three sects of the northern region. This is the first capital offense. You killed the emissaries of the three sects and challenged the dignity of the three sections. This is the second death penalty. You are merely a Dao querying third state cultivator and a junior of this sect master. However, you have no respect for this sect master and refer to him as fellow Taoist. This is the third death penalty. Any one of these 3 crimes is more than enough to take your life. The reason why this sect master has not killed you yet is because I don't want to be labeled as a bully. If you know your place, then cripple your own cultivation state and this sect master can let you live. Tongming sect master said calmly. Ha! Yi Xian laughed loudly. It was as if he'd heard an extremely funny joke. His laughter spread throughout the Nether Passage School, causing many disciples of the Nether Passage School to quietly watch from afar. What are you laughing at? Tongming sect master frowned. Actually, the moment Yi Xian arrived at Tongming sect master had already sensed it. However, he was curious about one thing. Why would Yi Xian dare to come here alone? Beg for mercy? Let the celestial court off? A series of thoughts flashed through Tongming sect master's mind. However, when he saw Yi Xian in person, he realized that things weren't so simple. This was because when Tongming sect master first saw Yi Xian, he noticed that Yi Xian was exuding a mysterious aura. He couldn't see through Yi Xian's depth. However, Tongming sect master didn't mind too much. He could tell that Yi Xian was only a Tao-comprehending realm cultivator. The difference in cultivation state made him feel disdain for Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian dared to come to Tongming sect alone. Tongming sect master admired Yi Xian's courage. This was also the reason why he didn't kill Yi Xian immediately. He wanted to see what Yi Xian wanted to say to him. What am I laughing at? Yi Xian said, I'm laughing at the fact that these 3 crimes are complete nonsense. What do you mean? Tongming sect master's interest was piqued by Yi Xian. In his eyes, Yi Xian's life and death were in his hands. First, the celestial court didn't infringe on Tongming sect's interests. I only established it on the original site of the Lunar Sky sect. How can there be a death penalty? Second, I killed the 3 sects' envoys because the 3 sects killed my celestial court's people. As the saying goes, an eye for an eye. How can there be a death penalty? Third, although Dao friend Tongming is an immortal realm cultivator who opened the 3rd gate of heaven, I'm not an ordinary person. If I didn't have some ability, how could I dare to come to your Tongming sect and call you Dao friend? Yi Xian indifferently said. From beginning to end he was neither arrogant nor humble. Tongming sect master clapped his hands repeatedly. However, his expression was extremely cold. He looked at Yi Xian as if he was looking at a dead man. Well said. You're really sharp-tongued. I was admiring your courage just now. However, in my eyes, you're just an arrogant and ignorant junior. Tongming sect master waved his hand and said coldly, kill him. Don't let his blood stain my Tongming sect's training ground. He killed without any reason. This was the tyrannical nature of the northern region's great sections. If a sect master wanted to kill someone, he didn't need to waste his breath. Ignorant brat, I'll send you on your way. Boom. The 4th elder of Tongming sect took a step forward. He was an immortal realm cultivator who opened the 1st gate of heaven. At this moment, his divine might was too vast. Clearly, he was going to carry out his sect master's order and kill Yi Xian. Wait a moment. How can I trouble 4th elder to kill such an ant? Your nephew can kill him alone. Li Yi hurriedly spoke out to stop him. He'd wanted to personally kill Yi Xian since a long time ago, so how could he let go of this opportunity? It was also because of his words that the 4th elder of the Nether sect frowned, but he still gave this opportunity to Li Yi. Brat, I've already said that you'll die a miserable death. Now, let me send you on your way. Li Yi laughed sinisterly as a dark light burst out from his body. His cultivation suddenly burst out as he charged towards Yi Xian. That terrifying aura caused the 4 elders to repeatedly nod their heads. Although has just entered the path-seeking realm, his cultivation of the Tongming sect has improved rapidly. Even a Tao-comprehending realm cultivator isn't his match. Our Tongming sect is one of the great sects of the northern region. How can a rogue cultivator be our match? End this quickly. Destroy his soul. The immortal realm elders spoke one after another. This made Li even more arrogant. The smile on his face became even wider. You're really an idiot. Yi Xian frowned. He was speechless. Was he so easy to kill in the eyes of this idiot? One finger. It was just a single finger. Yi Xian's finger shot out. Even the fourth elder of Tongming's sect couldn't see it clearly, let alone an idiot like Li Yi. Bang. Heaven and earth shook, and the void collapsed. The brilliance of this finger illuminated the world. It was simply impossible to open one's eyes. Amidst a miserable shriek of disbelief, Li Yi's body exploded in the void. Blood rained down from the sky. Not even a trace of his bones was left. There are so many idiots in this world. Why do I always meet them? When will I be able to kill them all? Yi Xian let out a self-deprecating sigh. Yi Xian personally killing such an ant was simply an insult to his status, and it made him feel even more helpless. Chapter 1446. Silence. 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 It was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Blood. Fresh blood. Beautiful fresh blood. When the blood-red light entered the eyes of the four great elders of the profound underworld cult, their eyes froze. They felt as if the scene in front of them was just an illusion. One strike. With just one strike, Tongming cult's Saint Sun died without a complete corpse. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, the four elders of Tongming cult wouldn't have believed that such a thing could happen. Suddenly, an earth-shattering sound rang out, causing the four elders to regain their senses. They saw Tongming cult's Saint Sun slowly turning around. There was already a footprint on the ground beneath his feet. He looked at Yi Xian with shock and disbelief. Tongming cult's Saint Sun started to take Yi Xian seriously. At this moment his eyes were gloomy and cold, but there was also a trace of shock that couldn't be erased. Dare. Disciple. Tongming's sect master enunciated every word clearly as a sinister light appeared around him. An indescribably terrifying wave of energy poured out from him, causing the sky around him to darken. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds covered the sky, and cold winds blew. The void in all directions rumbled. Tongming cult's killing intent poured out from his body, and his terrifying eyes flashed with a cold light. The anger of an immortal was earth-shattering, let alone someone like Tongming cult. Unfortunately, Yi Xian didn't seem to be affected by Tongming cult's terrifying aura. Instead, there was a faint smile on his face, giving off an extremely calm feeling. Kill him. Tongming cult's Saint Sun waved his hand at the four elders. His voice was filled with killing intent. The four elders of Tongming cult were all immortal experts. The strongest had already opened the second gate of heaven, and the other three had already opened the first gate of heaven. Boom! The fourth elder attacked. He had already opened the first gate of heaven, and he was confident that he could kill Yi Xian. A great art of turbid heaven shot out toward Yi Xian, causing the world to tremble. Boom! Facing the fourth elder's attack, Yi Xian didn't choose to dodge. Instead, he met the attack head-on. Similarly, he sent out a grand art. The terrifying heaven-burying light was deafening. Bang! There was a loud explosion, and the void collapsed. The two great arts clashed together, and a painful groan was heard. What happened next completely stunned the other three elders and Tongming's sect master. The fourth elder of the Nether Passage sect spat out a mouthful of blood as his entire body was blasted flying by Yi Xian's great technique. His palm was also badly mutilated by this strike, and three of his ribs had collapsed from the pain in his chest. 1. The fourth elder stabilized his body, but blood couldn't stop flowing out from the corner of his mouth. His originally arrogant and domineering expression turned pale and terrified. His gaze towards Yi Xian was filled with extreme shock. Your cultivation? The fourth elder of the Nether Passage sect roared as he stared fixedly at Yi Xian. He simply couldn't believe that he'd be injured by Yi Xian. Old Fourth, are you all right? The three great elders came together and quickly checked the fourth elder's injuries. Fortunately, although Yi Xian's attack was domineering, it didn't cause too much damage to the fourth elder. After all, the immortal realm that opened the first gate of heaven wasn't that weak. Take him down! Boom! The great elder of the Nether Passage cult coldly shouted. He finally realized that Yi Xian wasn't ordinary. Although Yi Xian's cultivation was at the third realm of the Tao-seeking realm, his battle prowess could already defy immortality. If he underestimated Yi Xian, he would probably fail miserably. Rumble. This time, the four great elders joined forces and didn't give Yi Xian the slightest chance. Especially since the great elder of the Nether sect had already opened the second heaven gate. With the four immortals joining forces, Yi Xian wasn't a match for him at all. Facing the four immortal realm experts, Yi Xian should have retreated. However, Yi Xian didn't dodge. Instead, he fearlessly charged towards the four elders. Perhaps some people would ask if Yi Xian was stupid. Facing the combined forces of four immortals, wouldn't he be courting death with his Tao comprehension realm cultivation? Yi Xian naturally knew that he wasn't a match for the four immortal realm experts. However, he had to face this attack head-on. This was also his chance to prove himself and establish his prestige in front of Tongming cult master. Regardless of Yi Xian's schemes, he had to show his strength and be on the same level as Tongming cult master. Only then would he have the qualifications to negotiate. Therefore, Yi Xian had to face this attack. Moreover, he had to do it calmly so that Tongming cult master and the four elders wouldn't dare to underestimate him. Die. The four immortal realm experts could destroy the heavens and the earth. When the four immortal realm experts attacked together, the wind and clouds turned upside down. Every inch of space cracked like a spider web. The terrifying power caused even Tongming cult master's expression to change slightly. Berry! Yi Xian formed a seal with both hands. A gray light burst out and formed a mysterious rune in his hand. When the rune appeared, it protected his body. Then Yi Xian threw it out. The so-called heaven-burying technique's true essence lay in the word bury. Bury the heavens, bury the earth, bury all living things, bury the universe's chaos. Boom! The heavens shook and the earth shook. Bury the heavens was boundless. This terrifying rune contained the true essence of Yi Xian's heaven-burying technique. It was also a shocking technique that Yi Xian had comprehended for a long time. Although it wasn't a forbidden technique, it contained all of his Tao and comprehension. Boom! The rune instantly collided with the four immortal realm experts. In the next moment, a dazzling light burst out, accompanied by a deafening explosion. Bury the heavens, destroy the earth, bury the past and present. It had to be said that Yi Xian's heaven-burying technique was terrifying. The shocking technique that Yi Xian had painstakingly created was actually able to block the joint attack of the four immortal realm experts. However, it was only able to block the attack. Moreover, it had used all of Yi Xian's Tao and Tao. Bang! A loud explosion sounded out as Yi Xian's entire body was sent flying. The four immortal stage elders were the same. Both sides were blasted back by the explosive force. Yi Xian's figure instantly stabilized as he flew backwards. His face was flushed red without any ripples, and his entire person was extremely calm. However, no one knew that at this moment, more than half of Yi Xian's cultivation had been consumed, and the blood within his body was violently churning. A mouthful of blood flowed into his throat, and he almost spat it out. However, he still fiercely swallowed it back down. He couldn't spit out this mouthful of blood. Yi Xian resisted the pain in his divine soul and warned himself with his strong will. The joint attack of the four immortal realm experts was definitely not a joke. Even though Yi Xian had used the shocking technique that he had researched to block the attack, the joint attack of the four immortal realm experts still injured him and affected his divine soul. Chapter 1447. Fortunately, Yi Xian looked unscathed on the outside. His face was calm, and there was even a faint smile on his face. It was as if the attack from the four immortals was nothing more than an itch to him. Deliberately mystifying and calm, Yi Xian fully interpreted the true meaning of these words. Even the four elders and Tongming cult master looked at Yi Xian with fear in their eyes. "Who the hell are you?" The four elders spoke almost at the same time. Their eyes were solemn to the extreme. Yi Xian was clearly just a Tao-querying third realm cultivator, but he had easily received the joint attack of four immortals. One had to know that Tongming cult's great elder was in existence who had opened the second gate of heaven. This was simply unbelievable to the four elders. It was no wonder that the four elders were shocked. They were not inexperienced and naturally knew that there were heaven-defying monsters who could go against immortals in the Tao-querying third realm. However, Yi Xian's current combat strength had already exceeded what a heaven-defying monster should have. He had received the joint attack of four immortals. This could no longer be described as a heaven-defying monster, because even a heaven-defying monster might not be able to receive the joint attack of four immortals. Monster. Strange. Indescribable. The four elders simply did not know what words to use to evaluate Yi Xian. They were absolutely certain of one thing. Even the strongest of all time might not have such terrifying combat strength in the Tao-querying third realm before they had reached Tao-querying third realm. The four elders of Tongming cult are only SOSO. Even though Yi Xian's inner palace was injured and his soul was about to shatter, he still smiled faintly and spoke with contempt. It was as if he really did not put the four elders of Tongming cult in his eyes. Fellow Taoist, you are too arrogant. Tongming cult's great elder roared coldly. His face was filled with anger. However, if one listened carefully, they would discover that he was referring to Yi Xian as fellow Taoist. This also proved that Yi Xian's combat strength had gained their recognition and they treated Yi Xian as a peer. Come, let this Yi see the capabilities of the four of you. As the saying goes, if you don't seek death, you won't die. At this moment, Yi Xian was on the path of seeking death. He had already suffered a lot of injuries. If the four great elders were to attack him with all their strength, then Yi Xian would definitely be in danger. However, Yi Xian was a very smart person. He believed in his own judgment and believed that the four great elders wouldn't fight with him. Therefore, he wasn't courting death. He was just bluffing to intimidate the entire Dark Church. Yi Daoyou's cultivation base is Tong Tian. Today, the four of us will have a taste of it. Transcendence cult's great elder roared. Divine might erupted from his body. Naturally, they also heard the conversation between Yi Xian and sect master Transcendence. Is this person crazy? He doesn't even want the position of vice sect master? He's dead for sure. He doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. I'm afraid he won't be able to walk out of my Transcendence cult alive today. All kinds of discussions could be heard. Even the four elders present had a gloomy expression, especially the first elder of Transcendence cult. The first elder had always coveted the position of vice sect master. However, according to sect master Transcendence's words, only when the first elder opened the third gate of heaven would he be qualified to become the vice sect master. This also showed that sect master Transcendence believed that Yi Xian was stronger than him. How could the first elder not be angry? Yi Daoyu, are you rejecting this sect master? Sect master Transcendence was an existence who had opened the third gate of heaven and was gradually approaching the fourth. He was an extremely overbearing person. He was also a person who kept his word. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the sect master of a cult. In his eyes, Yi Xian's rejection was a challenge to his dignity. Even if he valued Yi Xian's talent and combat strength, a disobedient person who couldn't be used by him didn't deserve to live. An indescribable killing intent silently grew. The dark clouds in the sky roiled slightly. Sect Master Transcendence's killing intent caused the weather to change. Everyone could sense his terrifying killing intent towards Yi Xian. You want to kill me? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. You're only at the third stage of the Tao-querying realm, yet you're able to fight an immortal and remain undefeated. With your talent, you'll be an unparalleled genius even in the Grand Central Domain, let alone the North Star Domain. Unfortunately, a genius is just a genius. The Primal Chaos 12 periods have never lacked geniuses. A genius who hasn't matured is no different from an ant. If this sect master wants to kill you, you definitely won't be able to live. Sect Master Transcendence said coldly. Ha! Yi Xian laughed. He looked mockingly at Sect Master Transcendence and said, there are many people who want to kill me. Those people who wanted to kill me all said the same thing. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Unfortunately, those who wanted to kill me all died in my hands. I think you won't be an exception. Yi Tian, I admire your ability to talk big. Unfortunately, you still have to die because I've already given you a chance. Boom! Tong Tian pierced through the ground, and a dark light filled the sky. 3 gates of heaven appeared behind Sect Master Transcendence, sealing everything within thousands of miles. Even a fly couldn't fly out of this cage. Chapter 1448. In such a dangerous situation, Yi Xian actually clapped his hands and smiled. He didn't show the slightest bit of fear. Instead, he looked at Tong Ming with a playful attitude, as expected of someone who opened the 3rd heaven gate. Just your aura alone is unparalleled. However, do you think you can kill me? Boom. The heaven-bearing divine art was unpredictable. It also contained the power of time and space. Yi Xian's entire body became illusory as if he didn't exist in this world. Without absolute confidence, Yi Xian wouldn't take the risk. Since he dared to come to Tongming cult alone, he naturally had his own trump cards. The heaven-bearing art was originally a combination of many supreme techniques, and it was filled with the profound mysteries of space and time. Although the heaven-bearing art wasn't perfect, after many years of research, Yi Xian was already able to use the heaven-bearing art to activate the profound mysteries of space and time within it. The profound of time and space might not be the strongest in battle, but it was definitely second to none when it came to concealment and escape. At this moment, Yi Xian activated the profound of time and space in the heaven-bearing divine art, causing Tongming cult master's killing intent to be unable to lock onto him. Tongming cult master's expression changed slightly. He actually couldn't sense Yi Xian's aura. This caused his heart to tremble and his brows to furrow. Yi Xian was becoming more and more mysterious in his eyes. Not only was his combat strength strange and terrifying, but he also couldn't see through the depths of the techniques he was using. Dao friend Tongming, I advise you not to make a move. You can't kill me. If you really want to fight with me, then wait until I step into the immortal realm. At that time, I'll ask Dao friend for advice. However, at that time, your Tongming cult's fate will be. Yi Xian said indifferently. He only finished half of his sentence and smiled faintly. The threat in his words was self-evident. You? Tongming's face was ashen as the aura around his body suddenly leaked out. His pair of deathly white eyes stared sinisterly at Yi Xian. In the end, he could only let out a long sigh as the killing intent on his body dissipated. It wasn't that Tongming didn't want to kill Yi Xian. Instead, he discovered that he couldn't lock onto Yi Xian with his aura. If he couldn't kill Yi Xian today, then when Yi Xian stepped into the immortal realm, it would be a great calamity for Tongming cult. Tongming cult was one of the 3 tyrants of the North region. An Undying wasn't much of a threat to them. Even if they wanted to kill an Undying, it wasn't much. The 4 great demons were a good example. However, the waters of the immortal realm were too deep. The 4 demons and Yi Xian could not be lumped together. Yi Xian was able to go against the immortal realm when he was only at the Dao querying realm. He was even able to fight evenly with the 4 great elders of Tongming cult. If Yi Xian stepped into the immortal realm, how terrifying would he be? If they were to become enemies with such a terrifying character, even a colossus like Tongming cult would have a headache. Therefore, Tongming sect master gave up on killing Yi Xian after thinking about it. Moreover, taking a step back, Yi Xian and his celestial court would be destroyed sooner or later. The other 2 religions wouldn't let him go either. Why should Tongming sect master take the lead? Since Yi Daoyu isn't willing to join my Tongming cult, then this sect master won't force you. However, you killed this sect master's disciple. This is a challenge to the dignity of my Tongming cult. My Tongming cult will settle this debt sooner or later. You can leave now. Tongming sect master coldly said. Leave. Yi Xian smiled faintly. Then, he looked at Tongming sect master mysteriously and said, Sect master, aren't you curious about why I'm visiting your cult? Do you think I'm only here to show off my cultivation? Isn't that the case? Tongming sect master was slightly stunned. He really thought that Yi Xian was only here to show off his cultivation so that Tongming cult wouldn't act rashly. However, when he saw the smile on Yi Xian's face, Tongming sect master's heart shook. He felt that things weren't that simple. Actually, I'm here today to tell Sect Master a huge secret in exchange for Tong Ming cult to give up on destroying my celestial court. Yi Xian said solemnly. Ha! Tong Ming's Sect Master sneered when he heard Yi Xian's words. He looked at Yi Xian with disdain. Yi Daoyu, I've already guessed that you're here for this purpose. However, you don't need to say anything more. First, you killed my emissary, then my holy son, and even established the celestial court. Just these three matters alone have made my Tong Ming cult your enemy. You can leave now. However, don't be afraid that this sect master will be merciless the next time we meet. Tong Ming's sect master said coldly. Yi Xian seemed to be prepared for Tong Ming's sect master's disdainful attitude. He smiled mysteriously and said, Sect master, don't you want to know what secret I'm going to use to exchange with you? The northern domain is vast. My Tong Ming cult has existed since ancient times. What secret does Dao friend think my Tong Ming cult would want? Tong Ming's sect master said disdainfully. Since sect master doesn't care about it, then this Yi Xian won't say anything more. However, this secret involves the strongest since ancient times. It seems like I can only give it to the other two sections. Yi Xian secretly transmitted his voice and pretended to sigh. He turned around and was about to leave, but before he could even take 3 steps, Tong Ming instantly blocked his path. Chapter 1449. Yi Daoyu, this sect master does not wish to hear any nonsense. What are you trying to say? Tong Ming said with slight anger. Heaven, breaking, void, cauldron. These 4 simple words came out of Yi Xian's mouth. However, these 4 words were as heavy as the heavens. When Tong Ming heard these words, his breathing quickened and his pale eyes turned red. Silence, silence, a strange silence. This silence lasted for more than 10 breaths of time. It was so oppressive that it made it hard for one to breathe. Fellow Taoist, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child that can be bullied so easily? Suddenly, Tong Ming took the initiative to break the oppressive atmosphere. He shouted at Yi Xian coldly. The dark light around his body surged violently, as if he was about to attack Yi Xian. I advise you not to bluff. This method of yours might be effective on others, but it has no effect on me. If you really want to know the whereabouts of the heaven-breaking cauldron, then let's have a good talk. Yi Xian said indifferently. Who? Tong Ming exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He actually calmed down. Clearly, he was just being emotional. It was also a method to test Yi Xian. Yi Daoyu, empty words have no proof. You want me to believe you when you say that you know the whereabouts of the heaven-breaking cauldron? Don't you think that's a little too laughable? Tong Ming said in a deep voice. However, if one listened carefully, they would notice that his voice was trembling. Clearly, his heart was not calm. Take a look at this. Yi Xian did not waste any words. He directly took out the remnant book that Song Huaimie gave him and casually threw it to Tong Ming. Tong Ming caught it and quickly flipped through it. Time passed little by little. Tong Ming read it very carefully, almost word by word. At the same time, Yi Xian was also observing Tong Ming's expression. The power of space-time covered his entire body. As long as Tong Ming attacked him, he would immediately leave this place. Right now, there were only 2 possibilities. Either the heaven-shattering cauldron was in the Netherworld sect, and in order to prevent this secret from being leaked out, the Netherworld sect leader had to keep Yi Xian here no matter what price he had to pay. The second possibility was that the heaven-breaking cauldron was not in Tong Ming cult. Therefore, Yi Xian would naturally not be in any danger. However, regardless of the result, Yi Xian had achieved his goal. So, he was very calm, and was observing Tong Ming cult to hide. At this moment, Yi Xian was absolutely certain that the heaven-shattering cauldron wasn't in the hands of the Tong Ming school, because at this moment, the Tong Ming school's eyes would occasionally reveal an extremely greedy and fiery expression. This also meant that the news of the heaven-shattering cauldron had already aroused his ambition and greed. This cold essence stone was the main material for refining divine weapons. In the entire northern star field, this material had always been controlled by the 3 sects of the northern region. It was impossible for it to be leaked to the outside world. Therefore, the heaven-breaking cauldron must be in one of the 3 sections. Now that Tong Ming cult knew about this, Tongming cult was the first to be eliminated. The heaven-breaking cauldron must be in the northern nether cult or the fairy cult. As for which cult it would require a thorough investigation. Yi Dao, from now on, you are a friend of my Tongming cult. The Celestial Court will also be regarded as the fourth great cult in the northern region. I can guarantee, fellow Taoist, that from now on, our two sects will help each other, Tongming cult said sincerely. Then many thanks, fellow Taoist. Yi Xian cupped his hands and bowed with a smile on his face. After 7 days, the stone door of the central hall rumbled open. Tongming cult walked out with Yi Xian with a smile on his face. Looking at their intimate posture, it was as if the two of them were good friends who hadn't seen each other for many years. Where was the attitude of an enemy from before? This? Looking at the smile on Tongming cult's face, the 4 elders of the Tongming cult were stunned. They didn't know what Yi Xian had said to their sect master. How come in just 7 days, the two of them seemed to be best friends? Pass down this sect master's decree. Prepare a generous gift and send it to the Celestial Court. From now on, the Celestial Court will be the fourth great cult in the northern region. My Tongming cult will be on good terms with the Celestial Court for generations. Disciples of my cult are not allowed to be enemies with members of the Celestial Court. Otherwise, they will be punished according to the cult's rules. Tongming sect master spoke in a dignified manner as he sent out a green decree. His voice resounded throughout the entire Tongming sect, causing an uproar among the disciples. Many thanks, fellow Taoist Tongming. This he will take his leave. If there is an opportunity in the future, I would like to invite fellow Taoist to be a guest at the Celestial Court. Yi Xian cupped his hands and bowed. Chapter 1450. Without a trace, he ascended to the sky. Under the gaze of Tongming sect master and the others, Yi Xian left Tongming sect openly. The 4 elders wanted to stop him, but Tongming sect master stopped them with a look. Sect master? Letting a tiger return to the mountain will only bring trouble in the future. Sect master, why did you let him go? This person is too mysterious. He will be a great enemy of our Tongming sect sooner or later. The 4 great elders of the Nether Passage School spoke out at the same time. Their faces were filled with worry. It was obvious that Yi Xian had given them a lot of pressure. If they didn't get rid of this kind of person, he would become a disaster sooner or later. It's fine to let Emir Yi Tian go today. He won't be able to cause any trouble. Now, I have something important to tell the 4 of you. This is related to the rise and fall of our Tongming sect. Tongming sect master called out to the 4 elders and entered the central hall together. What? The heaven-shattering cauldron? Is what sect master said true? Inside the hall, the 4 grand elders muttered in shock as they looked at Tongming. They were shocked beyond words by this news and could not believe what they had just heard. Of course it's true. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let him go. Moreover, I also issued a decree that our sect is not to be enemies with the Celestial Court, Tongming sect master said in a deep voice. But sect master, if what this person said is true, and this book is also true, then is the heaven-shattering cauldron in the Celestial Maiden sect or the Northern Dark sect? The 4th elder asked doubtfully. Sect master, the heaven-shattering cauldron is a supreme treasure of the primal chaos universe. Even the strongest of the ages coveted it. If one of the 2 sects had the heaven-shattering cauldron, why didn't they unify the entire Northern Territory? Why are the 3 sects in the Northern Territory in a deadlock? The 3rd elder was also puzzled. Heh! Tongming sect master smiled gloomily and muttered, the heaven-shattering cauldron is a supreme treasure of the primal chaos universe. Legend has it that anyone who can comprehend it will become the strongest of the ages. But how can the heaven-shattering cauldron be comprehended so easily? Hierarch, do you know anything else? Tongming cult's great elder's eyes were deep. He could hear the hidden meaning behind Tongming's words. Obviously, other than the secret Yi Xian had brought to him, Tongming cult's great elder should know some other unknown secrets. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so confident. Actually, when I took over the position of sect master, the previous sect master told me that the divine item that fell from outer space was very likely the heaven-shattering cauldron. I've been investigating this matter all these years. Although there aren't many clues, I've still managed to find something valuable. Chapter 1451. Dark North Sect. On this day, the war drums of Dark North Sect were beating as cultivators gathered. The Dark North Sect's leader stood proudly in the clouds. He was also in existence who had opened the third gate of heaven. He had an imposing aura. The puny celestial court killed my emissary. This time, I'm going to wipe them out personally to clear the name of Dark North Sect. The Dark North Sect's leader was as handsome as jade. He stood in the sky with his hands clasped behind his back. His voice was as graceful as jade, but it was also filled with supreme majesty. Sect leader is mighty. Heaven and earth roared. The eyes of the Dark North Sect's members were burning with passion as they looked at the Dark North Sect's leader with reverence. Today, the Dark North Sect's leader was going to wipe out the Celestial Court. This was also the day he had agreed with the other two sections. The three sects would go to the Celestial Court together to destroy this newly established orthodoxy. Sect leader, we should go now. Don't keep the other two sects waiting. The Dark North Sect's great elder bowed. All right. The Dark North Sect's leader nodded slowly as he raised his arms slightly. As soon as he gave the order, his followers would charge towards the Celestial Court. All of a sudden, a streak of light flashed over from the sky, striking at Hierarch North darkness. How dare you? For you. The Dark North Sect's great elder's expression changed. Who dared to behave so atrociously in Dark North Sect? Buzz. The Dark North Sect's leader frowned and caught the stream of light. As the light dissipated, a jade slip appeared in his hand. Communication jade slip? The Dark North Sect's leader frowned and murmured. Then he used his divine sense to read the jade slip. Boom. After 3 breaths, something that shocked the entire Dark North Sect happened. Dark North Sect leader's ruddy face suddenly turned deathly pale, and his handsome face twisted to the extreme. His eyes were filled with fear, and even his calm aura became extremely chaotic. How dare you? For you. The Dark North Sect's leader came back to his senses. However, a terrifying aura erupted from his body as he tried his best to find the person who sent the jade slip. Unfortunately, no matter how hard the Dark North Sect's leader searched, he couldn't find the owner of the jade slip even after the 3 gates of immortality opened behind him. Who? For you. Come out. Hierarch Dark North roared in rage. If one listened carefully, one would find that his voice was trembling. Obviously, a great storm had been raised in his heart. I'm just a wild crane and happen to know about this matter. Whether I believe it or not, you know. However, the Dark North Sect is facing a great calamity. It's up to you to decide what to do. The voice came from the sky above Dark North Sect, making it impossible for anyone to track it. This voice made Dark North Sect leader's face turn gloomy. Fellow Taoist, are you mistaken? Why would my Dark North Sect have such a divine item? Dark North tried his best to calm himself down. He looked around fiercely, hoping that he could find this mysterious man. That's not important. However, the Dark North Sect is facing a great calamity. I hope you can take care of yourself. I'll take my leave now. The voice was heard again, and then it fell completely silent. No matter how hard Dark North Hierarch tried, he couldn't find any trace of that person. Damn it. Boom. Dark North Hierarch slapped out in anger, and a towering mountain was smashed into pieces. He stepped into the sky and looked around for this mysterious man, but in the end, he could only return empty-handed. Hierarch, what on earth happened? The few elders walked quickly to Hierarch North Nether, their faces filled with surprise and doubt. Report. Suddenly, a disciple ran over in a panic and knelt down. He quickly reported, Hierarch, Dark North Sect has passed down a decree. They support the Celestial Court and are willing to maintain a good relationship with the Celestial Court for generations. The matter of the 3 sects joining forces has been dropped. What? Hearing this news, the elders were all shocked. How could this be? What exactly went wrong? Suddenly, Dark North Hierarch's face twisted. His eyebrows knitted tightly, and his eyes were filled with panic. He had already believed what he had read in the Jade Slip. The matter of destroying the Celestial Court has been dropped. You can all leave, Dark North Hierarch said coldly. He waved his hand and returned to the Dark North Divine Palace. The disciples were stunned. They didn't know why their hierarch suddenly changed his mind. Inside the Dark North Divine Palace, Dark North Hierarch sat on the main seat. The elders bowed. The atmosphere in the Dark North Divine Palace was extremely oppressive. A tyrannical aura was emitted from Dark North Hierarch's body. Hierarch, what happened? The elders frowned and asked. Dark North Hierarch slowly exhaled and said in a cold voice, "The secret of the heaven-shattering cauldron has been leaked." What? The heaven-shattering cauldron? Dark North Hierarch's words shocked the elders. They felt as if they were struck by lightning. They couldn't believe this news. "Follow me." Dark North Hierarch didn't waste any time. He struck out a spell and an illusory door opened in front of him. He took the lead and entered the door. The elders quickly followed. The door was very simple. There was only a stone platform. On the stone platform was a simple and unadorned small cauldron. Its color was mottled and there was nothing special about it. The heaven-shattering cauldron? How is this possible? When the small cauldron appeared in front of the elders, they instantly exclaimed in shock. They couldn't believe their eyes. They couldn't believe that the legendary chaos treasure was in the Dark North Hierarch. How could our hierarch have the heaven-shattering cauldron? The fourth elder exclaimed in shock. However, his eyes were burning with greed as he looked at the heaven-shattering cauldron. This was a legendary primal chaos treasure. It was said that whoever obtained the heaven-shattering cauldron would become the strongest throughout history. Hierarch, why didn't we know about this? The third elder also shouted excitedly. He strode forward and wanted to pick up the small cauldron. Stop! Boom! Dark North Hierarch took a step forward while growling coldly. This woke third elder up immediately and hurriedly restrained himself from making any reckless moves. The Dark North Swallowing Sky formation is set up here. Except for me, who has the incantation to activate it, anyone who tries to take the heaven-shattering cauldron will be attacked by the Dark North Swallowing Sky formation. Dark North Hierarch warned coldly. After saying this, Dark North Hierarch quickly formed a spell with both hands. He struck out beams of cold light toward the stone platform. After about 10 breaths, Dark North Hierarch carefully picked up the heaven-shattering cauldron. The heaven-shattering cauldron, the chaos treasure. It's the hope of our Dark North Hierarch. Dark North Hierarch's eyes were filled with obsession. He kept stroking the small cauldron in his hand. His eyes were filled with coldness. Obviously, this heaven-shattering cauldron was more important than anything else. On the other side, thousands of miles away, Yi Xian's eyes were rotating. The space-time tree was swaying constantly. The terrifying space-time power covered him. A pair of space-time Dharma eyes pierced through time and space and stared at the heaven-shattering cauldron in Dark North Hierarch's hand. It's here. It's in the Dark North Hierarch. Yi Xian growled. His eyes had turned scarlet. He wanted nothing more than to rush into the Dark North Hierarch's body and break his neck. Then he would snatch the cauldron. However, Yi Xian restrained himself. He knew that he couldn't act rashly. Now wasn't the time for him to snatch the cauldron. If he rushed over now, facing Dark North Hierarch and the other elders, not to mention snatching the cauldron, he would be in danger himself. However, Yi Xian would never be willing to retreat just like this. Chapter 1452. Yi Xian's emotions started to become a little irritable, but he knew very well that he had to calm down. He definitely couldn't lose his composure at this moment. Inside the Dark North sect, the four elders stared at the heaven-shattering cauldron with infatuation. The Dark North sect leader gently put the cauldron back to its original place, then slowly turned around to look at the four elders with a solemn expression that had never been seen before. In the entire Dark North sect, only the Great Elder and I know that the heaven-shattering cauldron is in our sect. Today, I am telling you this secret because something big has happened. It is very likely that our sect will be destroyed. The Dark North sect leader said in a deep voice. Sect leader, what exactly happened? Why is the heaven-shattering cauldron in our sect? Who sent that jade slip just now? The great elder hurriedly asked. An extraterrestrial divine object fell into the Northern Territory. Our Dark North sect was one step ahead of the others and seized the heaven-shattering cauldron. We even tried our best to hide this information. Unfortunately, in the end, someone could not resist the greed in his heart. This almost caused our sect to fall apart back then. The Dark North sect leader slowly recounted the events of the past and the process of how he obtained the heaven-shattering cauldron. It turned out that when the heaven-shattering cauldron fell into the Northern Territory, the Dark North sect leader found it at an extremely fast speed. The previous sect leader then sealed this huge secret, wanting to comprehend the secrets of the heaven-shattering cauldron as soon as possible. However, people's hearts were greedy. Regarding the secret of the heaven-shattering cauldron, only the previous generation's sect master and the two great elders knew about it. One of the elders coveted the heaven-shattering cauldron and actually secretly made a move against the previous generation's sect master for the sake of this cauldron, wanting to take it for himself. One had to admit that the strength of this elder was extremely terrifying. He had already vaguely surpassed the previous sect leader. In that internal strife of the Dark North sect, it could be said that he had turned the world upside down. In the end, this traitorous elder was severely injured by the previous sect leader and fled far away. The sect members who followed this elder were all executed. However, the former hierarch suffered irrecoverable injuries in that battle, and because he pursued that traitorous elder, his injuries worsened. In the end, he died and passed away, passing the throne to the current hierarch North. However, before the former hierarch passed away, the former hierarch gave the cauldron to Dark North and told him to study the cauldron carefully and to prevent that traitorous elder from leaking the information about the cauldron. However, the previous hierarch also comforted the Dark North hierarch because that traitorous elder had been severely injured by him and wouldn't be able to live for more than a few hours. As for the heaven-shattering cauldron, that traitorous elder might not be able to spread the news. Countless years had passed. Dark North had been trying his best to comprehend the sky-shattering cauldron. But what made him extremely unwilling to give up was that he had no clue at all. No matter what he tried, he couldn't figure out any secrets of the small cauldron. Today, someone delivered a mysterious jade slip. There was only one sentence in it, and that was to inform Dark North that the news of the heaven-shattering cauldron in the Dark North sect had spread to the other two sects, and the Dark North sect was preparing to snatch it. Therefore, Dark North hierarch retreated and prepared to deal with the threat of the other two sections. How could he have the time to care about the newly established celestial court? After listening to Dark North hierarch's narration, the four elders' complexions became heavy. An extremely oppressive atmosphere grew. Everyone's eyes were heavy, because the four elders knew very well that the other two sects would definitely not let Dark North sect go. Even if they had to sacrifice themselves, they would still seize the heaven-shattering cauldron. Before the Great War, my Dark North sect must protect the heaven-shattering cauldron. Even if my Dark North sect no longer exists, we can't let anyone seize the heaven-shattering cauldron, Dark North hierarch shouted. The orthodoxy of the great sects could be re-established, but the heaven-shattering cauldron couldn't be lost. Faced with these two choices, Dark North hierarch had to protect the heaven-shattering cauldron even if he had to sacrifice himself. He had already prepared for the worst. The night was like water. Stars covered the sky. A gloomy figure was shuttling through the Dark North sect. Even the patrolling soldiers didn't notice this figure's existence. Yi Xian was shuttling through the void. He had concealed his aura to the extreme. The profound of space allowed him to remain undetected. His entire person was stealthily moving towards the Dark North Divine Palace. In Yi Xian's plan, he didn't want to enter the Dark North sect. But when he saw the heaven-shattering cauldron appear, he couldn't control himself. In the end, he chose to take the risk, hoping to steal the cauldron. Stealing the heaven-shattering cauldron from a great sect was an extremely dangerous thing to do. Moreover, this was not in line with Yi Xian's original plan. It was really a bit too risky. However, the heaven-shattering cauldron was too important to Yi Xian. It was so important that Yi Xian absolutely couldn't give it up, even if he had to pay any price. No one understood the benefits of the heaven-shattering cauldron better than Yi Xian. Every heaven-shattering cauldron brought unimaginable opportunities to Yi Xian. Tribulation Transcender Transformation, Tribulation Transcender Devour, Heaven Burial Art, these were all opportunities obtained from the heaven-shattering cauldron. At this moment, Yi Xian was determined to obtain the heaven-shattering cauldron in the Dark North sect. He absolutely couldn't give it up. Yi Xian had a premonition that this heaven-shattering cauldron might be his trump card to return to the Grand Central Territory. It could truly allow him to establish a foothold in the Grand Central Territory and be able to face the strongest pressure of all time. This feeling came without any reason, but Yi Xian believed in this feeling very much. This was because every small cauldron had never disappointed him and had brought him unimaginable benefits. Therefore, Yi Xian was going to take a risk today. No matter what, he had to give it a try. The Dark North Divine Palace was heavily guarded. Since the hierarch of the Dark North sect had ordered the 4 great elders to prepare for the attack of the Dark Transcendence cult and the Goddess cult, the 4 great elders had been in charge of the Dark North Divine Palace. They didn't allow anyone to come close. At this moment, the 3rd elder and the 4th elder were guarding the Dark North Divine Palace. Both of them were at the first sky of Immortal Realm. It was extremely difficult for anyone to enter the Dark North Divine Palace. Time was torrential, and time and space were like water. Yi Xian was like a fish hiding in the water. The power of time and space concealed his aura. He was like the air, which made people unable to sense his existence. Buzz. Yi Xian turned into a wisp of wind, passing through the 2 great elders and entering the Dark North Divine Palace. The 2 didn't notice him at all. It had to be said that the power of time and space was too profound. This also helped Yi Xian sneak into the Northern Underworld Divine Palace. If he didn't have the power of time and space, he could only force his way into the Northern Underworld Divine Palace. It's here. Yi Xian hid in the void. He could see a spacious hall. However, his eyes were gazing at a space. Apparently, the heaven-shattering cauldron was in that space. Moreover, it was protected by the Dark North Sky-swallowing Great Formation. Open! Yi Xian made a hand seal. A door opened quietly. A stone platform emerged from the door. The heaven-shattering cauldron was placed on the platform. It was only greed that blinded his mind that made him take the risk. However, Yi Xian had learned his lesson. Greed could really harm him. Next time, Yi Xian would definitely not be so reckless. Fellow Taoist, I've been waiting for you in the Dark North Divine Palace for a long time. Are you going to surrender yourself, or do you want this sect master to capture you personally? Dark North sect master asked coldly. I want to leave. You can't stop me, Yi Xian said gloomily. Hee. Dark North hierarch smiled viciously and said, I have to say, my friend, you are indeed amazingly powerful. Not to mention the fact that the 4 elders failed to notice you sneaking into the Dark North Divine Palace. Even I almost failed to sense your presence. However, I have set up a seal in the palace long ago. You can never escape. Speak, who exactly are you? The great elder roared. Surrender obediently. Otherwise, your soul will scatter and you will die, second elder said coldly. Dark North sect does have some ability. Unfortunately, Dark Transcendence sect has already set their eyes on you. You can't even protect yourselves now, yet you still want to imprison me? Yi Xian sneered. His entire body was shrouded in mist, making it impossible for Dark North sect master to see his real body. You talk too much. Stay here. Boom. The Northern Underworld cold light, the immortal force. The Northern Underworld hierarch's cultivation was fully unleashed. He was a terrifying existence that had opened the 3rd heaven gate, so when he made a move, Yi Xian immediately felt an extremely terrifying pressure. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Boom. Yi Xian punched out. He didn't hold back at all because he wanted to leave this place quickly. He couldn't stay here and fight with Dark North sect master. Bang. What? The 2 of them collided with each other. Yi Xian's entire body was sent flying as he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was only because the Dark North hierarch was too powerful that his cultivation wasn't something Yi Xian could compare to. The difference was too great. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even though Yi Xian's battle strength was heaven-defying, he was only in the Tao-comprehending realm. There was more than a realm between him and Dark North Sect Master. He was at a disadvantage after just one blow. "You're not in the Immortal realm?" In the next moment, the Dark North Sect leader spoke out in shock. His gaze towards Yi Xian was filled with disbelief. All this time, Dark North Sect Master had thought that Yi Xian was in the Immortal realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the ability to sneak into Dark North Sect and act so fearlessly. However, this attack just now made the Dark North hierarch realize that although Yi Xian's combat strength was terrifying to the point of being comparable to an immortal, his cultivation aura was only at the third realm of Tao seeking. How could this not shock the Dark North hierarch to the extreme? Chapter 1454. Unfortunately, Yi Xian didn't respond at all. He knew that he couldn't say anything more. The only thing he could do was to leave this place as soon as possible. Infinite technique, body incarnation. At this critical moment, Yi Xian didn't hold back anymore. He chanted and the sound of sutras came from all directions. His avatar in the southern Do Great region opened his eyes. A terrifying astral source power instantly appeared on Yi Xian's body. Time Star. The entire northern underworld divine palace was sealed by restrictions, so it was impossible to escape with just the power of space and time. Therefore, Yi Xian had to use his avatar to help him. Only the methods of a Chaos Star Master could break these restrictions and use the power of space and time to escape. "Stop him! Don't let him escape!" Dark North Hierarch's eyes were sharp. He immediately noticed that Yi Xian's aura had become extremely unpredictable. An extremely bad feeling rose in his heart. He immediately sent a Dark North Great Art to suppress Yi Xian. On the other side, the 4 Great Elders also attacked madly. 4 Immortal Realm experts attacked at the same time. If this attack landed on Yi Xian's body, he'd definitely be annihilated. "Break!" Yi Xian roared fiercely. The Time Star opened up a passage. Yi Xian instantly entered the passage, but the 5 Immortal Realm Great Arts attacks just happened to hit the passage at the same time. A stream of blood splashed out from the passage. However, Yi Xian had disappeared. Apart from a pool of blood in the hall, Yi Xian had completely disappeared from the eyes of Dark North Hierarch and the others. "Damn it!" Dark North Hierarch roared furiously. He was just a little bit away from being able to keep Yi Xian here. He didn't think that he would fail in the end. Space-Time Temple. He's actually from the Space-Time Temple? Dark North Hierarch's face was gloomy. He anxiously paced around the hall. The 4 elders also looked extremely solemn. Clearly, they were extremely afraid of Yi Xian's identity. Boom. Tens of breaths later, Dark North suddenly realized what was happening. He reached out his hand and sucked the cauldron into his hand, then solemnly put it into his chest. After this battle, Dark North Hierarch had no choice but to keep the cauldron with himself. He had to make a choice between the cauldron and the Dark North Hierarch. "Pass down my decree. Recall the 2 grand elders of our cult and order all disciples to return to our cult. Anyone who dares to disobey will be punished according to the cult's rules." Dark North Hierarch said with a deep voice. The 4 elders dared not to hesitate, hurriedly taking the order and leaving. Watching the 4 elders leave, the Dark North Sect leader said with a grim face, "Even if the Dark North Sect no longer exists, the heaven-shattering cauldron cannot be lost." Boom! Ripples appeared in the air, and the sound of heaven and earth exploding could be heard. Yi Xian's entire body fell out of the air. However, his body was cracked like a spider web, and blood couldn't stop flowing out from the corner of his mouth. "It's too much." Yi Xian's face was pale, and his eyes were extremely gloomy. This time, his injuries were not light. Fortunately, he had many secret techniques. Otherwise, he would have died in the hands of Dark North Hierarch. "I was too careless." Yi Xian blamed himself. He was too impulsive. Otherwise, how could he have put himself in danger? A man's greed will lead him to eternal damnation. I have always understood this, but I never thought that I would still be blinded by greed. Yi Xian was reflecting on himself. This experience had taught him a profound lesson. If he had not been so anxious to obtain the heaven-shattering cauldron, he would not have suffered such heavy injuries. However, it had already happened. Yi Xian could not regret it anymore. This experience had also taught him a good lesson. Dark North Hierarch. Yi Xian's eyes were extremely gloomy. A murderous aura emerged from his body. He was considering if he should head to the goddess sect next. Dark North Hierarch already knew that the heaven-shattering cauldron was in the Dark North Hierarch. Only the goddess sect was still in the dark. Dark North Hierarch would never tell the goddess sect about the heaven-shattering cauldron. Therefore, he had to pass this information to the goddess sect. Only then would he be able to stir up the three hierarch and emerge victorious in the chaos. However, Yi Xian knew that it would be too dangerous for him to head to the goddess sect now. He could only choose a compromise. A jade slip appeared in Yi Xian's hand. The power of time and space suddenly erupted. Yi Xian casually threw out the jade slip, which instantly tore through the void and disappeared. After doing all this, Yi Xian heaved a sigh of relief. It did not matter if the goddess sect believed the contents of the jade slip or not. As long as they saw the battle between Dark North Hierarch and Dark North Hierarch, the goddess sect would definitely find some clues. At that time, the goddess sect would also be involved in this mess. Yi Xian took a step forward, tore through the void, and returned to the Tai Yin Divine Mountain. He had already done what he needed to do. Now, he had to quickly recover from his injuries. It would be best if he could step into the Dao integration stage. Only then would he be able to better deal with what was going to happen next. The North region was in chaos, and the entire world was shocked. Shocking news spread throughout the North region, causing the living beings in the North region to tremble to the extreme. From the Dark North Hierarch to the ordinary disciples, everyone in the Dark North Hierarch was ready to set off. They actually mobilized the entire Dark North Hierarch to attack the Dark North Hierarch. A battle between the two Hierarch and the Dark North Hierarch was inevitable. This battle caused mountains and rivers to collapse and blood to flow. The strength of the two Hierarch and Dark North Hierarch were evenly matched. Countless disciples from both Hierarch and Dark North Hierarch were killed in this battle. Moreover, the two Hierarch and Dark North Hierarch fought a world-shaking battle. It was simply earth-shattering. Dark North Hierarch was severely injured in this battle because Hierarch Tongming and Saintess Tongming had joined forces. The Saintess Tongming was also someone who had opened the third gate of heaven. In a 2-on-1 situation, Dark North Hierarch almost died in their hands. Fortunately, the two Hierarch and Saintess Tongming returned in time and forced Hierarch Tongming and Saintess Tongming to retreat. One Hierarch from each Hierarch and Saintess Tongming died in the battle. It could be said that both sides suffered great losses. However, this was not the end. Before the living beings in the North region knew what was going on, the goddess sect had also joined the battle. Their target was also the Dark North Hierarch. This made things worse for the Dark North Hierarch. They could only activate the sect-protecting formation to defend against the attacks of the two Hierarch and Saintess Tongming. The battle between the three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming caused great suffering. Countless cultivators from the three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming died in every battle. The three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming also passed down a decree, ordering the major sects to support them. This battle instantly affected the entire North region. The forces in the North region were not complicated. They were all led by the three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming and Saintess Tongming. This time, the three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming and Saintess Tongming and Saintess Tongming and Saintess Tongming had no choice but to join in the battle between the three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming and Saintess Tongming and Saintess Tongming. Sects fought against sects, and the three Hierarch and Saintess Tongming and ancient demons who had not appeared in the world for a long time were stirring up waves of excitement. The entire North Star starfield was in a mess. Rivers of blood flowed and white bones were everywhere. The vast North Star starfield had turned into a slaughterhouse. It was completely engulfed in the chaos of war. However, no one knew the cause of this chaos. Even though I started the battle between the three sects, it's extremely difficult for me to destroy the three sects alone. I can only achieve my goal by using the 4 demons and the 5 great sect leaders. Yi Xian paused for a moment, then looked into the distance and murmured, "Moreover, I've found an opportunity to reach the Path Integration Realm. I think I'll be able to reach the Path Integration Realm in 30,000 years. By then, I might be able to fight with the sect leader who opened the 3rd gate of heaven." 30,000 years? Fatso Huang frowned. Don't worry, the battle between the 3 sects won't end in a short time. After all, the 3 sects have been in a stalemate for many years and don't dare to use their full strength. If I'm not wrong, this battle will last for tens of thousands of years. During this time, you and Beichen have to cultivate well and break through your current realm as soon as possible, Yi Xian instructed. Sir. Fatso Huang took his leave. Time was like water, passing in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, 30,000 years had passed. During these 30,000 years, the entire northern region was devastated. The northern region was filled with a murderous and bloody aura after 30,000 years of killing. Snow Bamboo Peak. Why is it still not working? At the peak of the snow mountain, the cold wind whistled. Yi Xian's aura merged with heaven and earth. His terrifying power made the mountain range under his feet shake violently. However, Yi Xian was like a madman. His eyes were bloodshot as if he had fallen into a state of madness. During these 30,000 years, Yi Xian had been comprehending the opportunity to reach the Tao integration realm every day. He could feel that he had grasped the opportunity, but he couldn't step into the Tao integration realm. Heaven and earth as one, and heaven and earth as one. This was the Tao integration stage. However, Yi Xian couldn't step into the Tao integration realm at all. Even after 30,000 years, he was still stuck at this bottleneck. Moreover, during these 30,000 years, the 5 sect masters had to undergo the Immortal Tribulation. 2 of them had died tragically under the Immortal Tribulation, and only 3 of them had successfully passed the Immortal Tribulation. Although they had lost 2 sect masters, the Celestial Court had gained 3 Immortal Realm experts. Including the 4 demons, they now had 7 Immortal Realm experts. Although this lineup alone could not be compared to the 3 major sects of the North region, it was definitely not far off. Moreover, after 30,000 years of development, the Heavenly Court's reputation had risen in the North region, and it had officially become the 4th major sect. However, hidden dangers had appeared. The 3 sect masters had reached the Immortal Realm, and the 4 demons were in charge of the Celestial Court. These 7 Immortal Realm experts hadn't visited Yi Xian for a long time. Obviously, they were showing signs of disobedience. However, although the 3 sect masters had reached the Immortal Realm, they were still afraid of Yi Xian. After all, they had seen Yi Xian kill 3 Immortal Realm experts. This kind of deterrence didn't make them act recklessly. However, the 4 demons were different. In the past 30,000 years, they had stayed in the Celestial Court and controlled the forces of the Celestial Court. Without the restrictions of the 3 major sects, they went around killing sect masters and plundering resources. It could be said that they were living a carefree life. They had almost forgotten about Yi Xian, the leader of the Celestial Court. Fatso Huang had reported this to Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian allowed the 4 demons and the 3 sect masters to do whatever they wanted. He only focused on cultivating in the Snow Bamboo Peak and reached the Tao integration realm. Tao integration? What kind of Tao is it? At this moment, Yi Xian was extremely calm. He was examining his own laws and Tao, and he was comprehending the so-called primal chaos of the universe. Tao integration? Tao integration? Yi Xian mocked himself in a low voice. His eyes were spinning as if he'd grasped the true opportunity, and this opportunity had always been overlooked by him. I've never believed in heaven and earth or the chaotic universe. I've always believed in myself. Why should I integrate? Ha! Suddenly Yi Xian laughed out loud. However, his laughter was too self-deprecating. He'd been comprehending for 30,000 years, but he was actually stumped by an extremely simple question. It was only today that he truly woke up. The so-called Tao integration realm was only a kind of spiritual enlightenment. It was also a kind of self-certification. Those who stepped into the Tao integration realm were one with heaven and earth. They were one with heaven, earth, and man. However, Yi Xian only believed in himself. He only believed that he was invincible. He believed that he could defeat all enemies in the heavens. Even the chaotic universe would fall under his feet. Since he only believed in himself, why should he integrate with heaven and earth and universe? I am heaven, I am earth, and I am myself. There is no heaven, no earth, no heaven, no earth, and no me. All Tao is one. I am heaven and earth. Yi Xian's roar could shatter mountains and rivers. Heaven and earth cracked. His entire being was sublimated at this moment. An extremely terrifying aura erupted from his body. The sky-bearing skill was running wildly in his body. It was not that they didn't want to kill Yi Xian, but every time they were about to join forces to kill Yi Xian, they would hesitate and give up in the end. It was because the deterrence Yi Xian gave them was still fresh in their minds. They didn't dare to act rashly. Therefore, in the past 30,000 years, the 4 demons had almost controlled the entire celestial court. Only the 4 demons were known in the celestial court. Few people knew that there was a sect master, Yi Xian. At this moment, although the 4 demons were in a heavy mood, the 3 sect masters were in the worst mood. Sect Master Jiuchu, Sect Master Corpse Kue, and Sect Master Solar. The 3 sect masters were originally in the Tao integration stage. In the past 30,000 years, they had stepped into the undying realm thanks to the endless resources plundered by the celestial court. Unfortunately, the sect master of the Ether sect and the sect master of the Flying Saint sect had perished in the divine tribulation of the undying realm. Therefore, only the 3 of them were left among the 5 sect masters. In the past 30,000 years, the 3 sect masters had stepped into the undying realm, which made their status rise. Even the 4 demons had to show some respect to them. This also made the 3 sect masters regain the confidence that they used to have when they were in charge of the sect. They could even compete with the 4 demons now and then. Although there hadn't been any major disagreements over the years, there had been some conflicts from time to time. However, today, Yi Xian had broken through to the Tao integration stage. The 3 sect masters suddenly recalled Yi Xian's ruthless means and what Yi Xian had said to them. From now on, you are my dogs. You will bite all my enemies for me. The words of the past seemed to echo in the ears of the 3 great sect masters like a nightmare, causing them to have sinister expressions. Fear and killing intent flashed through their eyes as they looked at Yi Xian. As long as Yi Xian didn't die, they could only be his dogs. A simple sentence revealed the thoughts of the 3 sect masters. Killing intent rose in their hearts at the same time, and they took a step forward. At this moment, the 3 of them were no longer in the Tao integration stage. If they joined forces, they might be able to kill Yi Xian. However, they wanted to get rid of the nightmare that Yi Xian had brought to them. At the same time, the 4 demons had already noticed the movements of the 3 sect masters. They could sense the killing intent from the 3 sect masters at a glance. The 4 demons looked at each other and a murderous intent appeared. They took a step forward at the same time. Although the Scarlet, which was the only one with the highest cultivation among the 7 who had opened the 2nd gate of heaven, these were 7 living immortal realm experts. If they really attacked at the same time, Yi Xian would definitely fall into a life and death crisis. After all, Yi Xian was still in the process of breaking through to the Tao integration stage and had yet to awaken from his cultivation. This was the best time to kill him. What are you doing? Suddenly, Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen appeared in front of the 7 undying realm experts at this critical moment. They glared at each other angrily, but they were also extremely anxious. The thing that they were most worried about had happened. The 7 undying realm experts were ticking time bombs. They could kill Yi Xian at any time. If the 7 undying realm experts attacked, Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen wouldn't be able to stop them. Not only would they die, but Yi Xian would also die. Get out of the way. The white bone Taoist said coldly. A terrifying aura spread out and pressed down on Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen. I advise you not to act recklessly. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Fatso Huang said harshly. He was also threatening the 7 Undying Realm experts. He had to stall for time as long as Yi Xian woke up from his cultivation. There might be a glimmer of hope for them to get out of this crisis. Regret? The Solar Sect Master sneered. We're just concerned about Sect Master's cultivation. What's there to regret? Get out of the way. The white-boned Taoist lifted his sleeves and threw Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen away. Although it was just a casual blow, the cultivation of Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen was too different from his. They fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Obviously, they were seriously injured by this blow. Undying Realm. This was the top battle force in the chaotic world. Even if it was only at the early stage of Undying Realm, Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen couldn't resist it. The 7 Undying Realm experts walked toward Yi Xian together. The whole world was filled with their footsteps. Heavy and silent killing intent bloomed slowly. They were getting closer and closer to Yi Xian. Finally, the 7 Undying Realm experts came to Yi Xian. Their killing intent finally broke out at this moment. The white-boned Taoist and the Solar Sect Master raised their hands first. The next moment, they were going to operate all their cultivation to give Yi Xian a fatal blow. I've already given you a chance, but you don't even know how to be a dog. Why do you want to bite your master? Rumble. At this moment, Yi Xian was truly too terrifying. Although his aura wasn't obvious, his entire being's essence, energy, and spirit were completely different from before. A domineering aura that could cover the heavens and earth was being released. Yi Xian took a step forward, and the entire lunar divine mountain trembled. The ground beneath his feet cracked, and the heaven-burying divine light swept out in all directions. That terrifying whistling sound shattered countless cold mountains, and the earth trembled in fear for tens of thousands of miles. Hierarch, it's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. How could I dare to have killing intent towards you? The Sun Master screamed in fear. He was only at the early stage of the Undying Realm. How could he be Yi Xian's opponent? At this moment, Yi Xian was walking towards him step by step. A terrifying aura of life and death assaulted him. There's an old saying that if a dog bites me, I will not bite back. After all, humans and dogs are different. However, I don't agree with this saying. If my dog dares to bite its master, I will kill it with a single blade. This is what I believe in. Yi Xian spoke until here. He smiled viciously and looked at the Moon Master. And this dog of yours is too disobedient. It dares to bite me, its master. Do you think I should kill you? Go to hell. The Sun Master roared ferociously. He slapped out his immortal great technique. At this moment, he knew there was no turning back. Only by fighting for survival would he have a chance to survive. Boom! The Sun Master's golden sun fire lit up the sky and earth. The Sun Master, who had reached the Immortal Realm, was extremely terrifying. His flame of the origin could burn down everything. This was his final attack, which contained all of his cultivation base. Boom! The Sun Master's attack landed on Yi Xian's chest, which made him laugh crazily. It was as if he could already see Yi Xian turning into ashes under this attack. However, in the next moment, the smile on the Solar Sect leader's face stiffened, and the wild laughter in his mouth came to an abrupt stop. It was all because Yi Xian was calmly looking at him. This kind of silent calmness caused one's hair to stand on end, and their scalps to go numb. You really deserve to die. Boom! Under everyone's horrified gazes, Yi Xian raised his 5 fingers. The terrifying heaven-burying light beam shot out and slammed into the Sun Master's head. Boom! One strike, just one strike. Under Yi Xian's strike, the Solar Sect leader let out an unwilling roar. However, his entire body was slapped by Yi Xian until not even his bones remained. He turned into a bloody mist that filled the sky and dissipated into the air. Devouring the heavens, devouring the earth, devouring the souls of calamity immortals. Yi Xian let out a beast-like roar as a terrifying black fog rose around him. He opened his mouth like a whale drinking water and swallowed the blood and soul essence energy of the Solar Sect Master into his stomach. After doing all this, Yi Xian slowly spat out a mouthful of turbid air that instantly pierced through the void. The black mist around him also gradually dissipated. Then, he calmly looked at Taoist Whitebone. What do you want to do? Everyone was shocked and trembled in fear. When they saw the tragic death of the Sun Master, they were terrified to the extreme. The two sect masters were already kneeling on the ground, not daring to move. Only Taoist Whitebone and the others were retreating. Terrifying, too terrifying. It was simply unimaginable. 30,000 years ago, Yi Xian had to spend some time to kill Li Tsangtian. But 30,000 years later, Yi Xian killed an early-stage immortal realm expert as easily as drinking water. This simply made everyone's soul jump out of their bodies. Disobedient dogs deserve to die. Taoist Whitebone, do you want to do it yourself? Or do you want me to send you on your way? Yi Xian muttered sinisterly as he revealed his white teeth. He walked towards the Whitebone Taoist step by step, causing the Whitebone Taoist to retreat in fear. He even repeatedly asked for help from the other two demons. Fellow Taoists, today, either he dies or we die. No matter how heaven-defying his strength is, as long as we join hands, we might be able to kill him. Taoist Whitebone roared in fear. However, Taoist Crimson Demon and Taoist Green Ghost looked hesitant. Obviously, they hadn't made up their minds yet. Sect Master Yi, everything is a misunderstanding. Why do you have to kill Whitebone? Scarlet Witch turned back. However, her face was pale and the corners of her mouth were stained with blood. Obviously, the attack just now had injured her. She was even more shocked by Yi Xian's terrifying strength. Chapter 1458. At the same time, all the disciples of the Celestial Court quietly watched this scene. They finally saw the legendary Hierarch Yi and the tragic death of the Solar Overlord. So terrifying, is this our Hierarch of the Celestial Court? Of course, it was this Hierarch Yi who founded the 6 schools. You've only joined the Celestial Court for 1,000 years. How could you know how terrifying this hierarchy is? Shoo, quiet down. These undyings have been fighting for power all these years. I'm afraid our hierarchy is going to purge this internal threat. As disciples, we should just wait and see. All sorts of discussions could be heard. Although the voices of these people were very soft, when they gathered together, it became noisy, causing the expressions of the immortals to become unsettled. Their gazes towards Yi Xian were filled with panic and hesitation. Now, they only had 2 choices. One was to fight to the death with Yi Xian and firmly grasp the Celestial Court in their hands. The other was to submit to Yi Xian and truly listen to Yi Xian's orders. It was obvious that the 6 immortals all wanted to choose the first path, but they couldn't make a decision because Yi Xian was simply too terrifying. The Solar Sect leader killed him just like that, and didn't even have the strength to resist. They were deeply afraid that they would follow in the footsteps of the Solar Sect leader. Moreover, other than the 4 demons, the other 2 overlords had been scared silly by Yi Xian's methods. They didn't dare to have any thoughts of rebelling, let alone joining forces with the 4 demons against Yi Xian. Hierarchy, why must we fight among ourselves? Have you forgotten our original agreement? The Whitebone Taoist retreated while looking for a direction to escape. He felt that the other 3 demons didn't want to fall out with Yi Xian. You talk too much nonsense. Since you're called the Whitebone Taoist, why don't you turn into a skeleton today? Boom. Yi Xian raised his 5 fingers as if he was lifting up the universe. That terrifying aura that could shatter the heavens and earth was being released, causing the Whitebone Taoist's heart to tremble in fear. He directly struck out a great technique at Yi Xian, and his entire body turned into a ray of light as he tried to escape. Do you think you can escape? Boom. Yi Xian casually dissipated the great technique that the Whitebone Taoist had cast. When his 5 fingers stretched out, the entire world was trapped. A giant starry sky palm appeared above the Whitebone Taoist's head and smashed down towards him. The starry sky strike destroyed all laws. This was Yi Xian's law and Tao, filled with his terrifying strength. The Whitebone Taoist had only opened his first celestial gate. Yi Xian's attack. A translucent jade-like hand grabbed the Whitebone Taoist's throat, accompanied by the white-bone Taoist's terrified screams. However, this hand was as heavy as the ancient sky. No matter how the white-bone Taoist struggled or unleashed all of his cultivation, he couldn't escape from the grasp of this hand. Rumble! Yi Xian raised a single arm into the sky as he raised the white-bone Taoist into the air. His eyes were emotionless and devoid of desire. There was only indifference, and not the slightest ripple could be seen in them. The 6 desires were emotionless, and the world was heartless. Yi Xian killed people, destroyed their hearts, and destroyed their souls. Killing was never Yi Xian's style. Yi Xian didn't think that he was a bloodthirsty person, but he had to admit that killing was often the best way to solve problems. It could also intimidate many rascals. Save me! Save me! The world was filled with killing intent, and all laws were destroyed. Under Yi Xian's terrifying killing intent, the white-bone Taoist truly experienced the arrival of death. He cried out for help from the 3 demons because only the 3 demons could save his life at this moment. Sect Master Yi, please have mercy. The 3 demons arrived in an instant and pleaded for mercy from Yi Xian. However, their faces were slightly pale, and their eyes were filled with fear. They looked at Yi Xian with a trace of fear. Those who betray me must die. There are no exceptions. Unless you want to follow in his footsteps. Yi Xian said indifferently. His emotionless eyes were cold and terrifying as he stared at the 3 demons. This made the 3 demons' hearts tremble. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. To save or not to save? An extremely difficult problem was placed in front of the 3 demons. If they saved, they would become enemies with Yi Xian. A battle of life and death was inevitable. If they didn't save, they would bow their heads and submit to Yi Xian. From then on, they would be enslaved by him and would no longer be free. If they could choose, the 3 demons would naturally choose the first option. The 4 immortals would fight Yi Xian and truly shed all pretense of cordiality. Then, they would take the celestial court for themselves. However, this was only a thought because the 3 demons knew that it was impossible. Yi Xian's combat strength was too terrifying. He wasn't someone they could kill. Even if the 4 immortals could defeat Yi Xian, who was only at the Tao integration realm, was already so terrifying. If Yi Xian stepped into the immortal realm one day, the 4 of them would undoubtedly die. Therefore, the 3 demons didn't want to fight Yi Xian. However, they still wanted to save Baigu. It wasn't because they had a deep relationship with Baigu, but because the 3 demons deeply understood the principle of interdependence. In fact, the 3 demons also secretly hated Yi Xian. If the 3 sect leaders had joined forces with them just now and truly stood firm together, it wouldn't have been difficult for the 7 immortals to kill Yi Xian. However, look at the current situation. The solar sect leader had exploded and died. The 2 sect leaders were kneeling on the ground like dogs, not daring to move recklessly. The white-bone Taoist was even suppressed by Yi Xian. Clearly, how could the 3 of them fight against Yi Xian? Save me, my 3 friends, save me. If I die in his hands today, you won't have a good ending in the future. The white-bone Taoist roared anxiously, hoping that the 3 demons would fight to the death. Suddenly, a mournful howl came from the mouth of the white-bone Taoist. One of his arms was torn off by Yi Xian, and a large amount of blood sprinkled down from the sky. The tragic scene caused the 3 devils' gazes to freeze, and the disciples watching from afar sucked in a breath of cold air. Vicious, cruel, and bloody, Yi Xian had torn off the white-bone Taoist's arm without any warning. However, such a cruel method was extremely intimidating. Even if I die, I'll take you down with me. The white-bone Taoist's eyes were bloodshot as he howled in pain. He knew that he wouldn't be able to survive today. However, even if he died, he definitely wouldn't let Yi Xian have it easy. He would even take Yi Xian down with him. Rumble. Terrifying rumbles continued to ring out from the white-bone Taoist's body. His body swelled like a rubber ball. He actually chose to self-detonate. Clearly, he wanted to take Yi Xian down with him. The self-detonation of an immortal could unleash 10 times the terrifying power. Even if Yi Xian had reached the Tao integration stage, he wouldn't dare to take it head-on. However, Yi Xian didn't panic. It was as if he had already anticipated this situation. Before the white bone Taoist could self-detonate, a wisp of the power of time rippled out and instantly drowned the white bone Taoist. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.